After a few more minutes of the brawl, the onlookers started to realize this wasn't your average street fight. The sound was less like fists hitting flesh and more like a string of firecrackers going off. Pop, pop, crack. Pop, pop, crack. It was terrifying. A few good Samaritans had thought about stepping in to break it up, but one look at the sheer intensity of the fight made them reconsider. You couldn't get close without risking serious collateral damage. At one point, one of the combatants kicked the other into a brick wall, leaving a visible crater. They were like two UFC heavyweights going at it. Hell, if Mike Tyson showed up, he'd probably tuck his tail, renounce his championship titles, and go back to raising pigeons. But there was one surefire way to deal with two lunatics trying to kill each other: call in other professionals. The police. Soon, two patrol cars screeched to a halt at the scene. NYPD. Freeze. 7 or 8 uniformed officers swarmed Victor Stone and Leo Flynn, finally bringing the chaos to a stop. Both men were a wreck, their clothes torn to shreds. Leo, in particular, looked like he'd gone 10 rounds with a meat grinder and lost. Victor Stone had fought dirty, aiming exclusively for his face. With a significant height advantage, Victor's punches rained down on Leo, while Leo had to swing upward, struggling to land a clean hit on his opponent's head. Jumping up to punch would have been idiotic, leaving him wide open for a kick that would have ended the fight instantly. The result was a deeply humiliating beatdown. Leo's face was a swollen, lopsided mess. His mouth was puffy. One eye was turning a deep shade of purple, and while none of the injuries were life-threatening, he looked utterly ridiculous. The moment he saw the badges, Leo started playing the victim. "Officers, thank God you're here. This man is a complete psycho," he sputtered through swollen lips. "He just attacked me out of nowhere. You have to arrest him, lock this maniac up in a psychiatric ward, and throw away the key before he hurts someone else. If I couldn't defend myself, I'd be a corpse right now." His plan was simple: let the cops lock Victor up for a while. That would give him the time he needed to investigate the guy and, more importantly, find out who sent him. He racked his brain. Since arriving in New York, he hadn't pissed off anyone powerful, and the ones he had pissed off before were already 6 feet under. He needed to know who was behind this. The kind man gets bullied, the tame horse gets ridden. Did they really think he wouldn't retaliate? The officers exchanged confused glances. They got a call about a public disturbance, a fight disrupting the peace. They hadn't expected this level of drama. Suddenly, Leo spotted a familiar, striking figure among the officers. At his exclamation, the woman turned her head, her sharp eyes landing on him. Catherine Yang's brow furrowed, her expression a perfect mask of non-recognition. When old acquaintances meet, their eyes should fill with tears. Leo rushed to remind her. "Officer Yang, it's me, Leo Flynn." Kate blinked. "That's Leo Flynn?" She took a closer look, and sure enough, beneath the swelling and the bruises, it was him. It wasn't that she was slow on the uptake. It was that Leo looked like he'd crawled out of a dumpster fire. His clothes were shredded, his face was a disaster, and his mouth looked like he'd tried to kiss a beehive. She couldn't imagine what kind of grudge could lead to a beating this personal. "Whoa, he actually knows Detective Yang." One of the younger cops whispered to his partner. "An acquaintance, huh? What do we do now? What do you think? Check the security footage. If his story checks out, we let him go." Hearing their chatter, a triumphant smirk tried to form on Leo's lips, but the searing pain quickly turned it into a grimace. Damn it. This guy was an absolute dog, going straight for the face. My face. Was it just because he was better looking? Was that it? It had to be. The person who hired this goon was clearly jealous of his handsome features. Why else would he order a targeted assault on his face? Kate was already in a foul mood just from seeing Leo, and her colleagues' whispers only made it worse. Her expression darkened. "Both of you shut up," she snapped, her voice sharp. "Take a both in. The law doesn't play favorites. Everyone gets treated the same." With that, she turned on her heel and marched back to her car. What a rotten day. Of course she'd run into Leo Flynn again. All she wanted was to get out of here. Her fellow officers looked at each other, shrugging. "Ahem. Sir," one of the cops said to Leo, "regardless of the reason, we're going to have to ask you to come down to the precinct to give a statement." Leo cursed internally. Shit. He should have kept his mouth shut about knowing Kate Yang. This was just his luck. What should have been a simple matter, a few words and a quick call to Manny Marcos, was now turning into a full-blown arrest. And so, Leo Flynn was escorted into one patrol car, while Victor Stone was placed in the back of Kate's. At the precinct. "Officer, I'm telling you, it was self-defense," Leo explained for the 3rd time to the officer taking his statement. "The guy jumped me the second I walked out of that cafe." The officers in the room nodded. The security footage was clear. Victor Stone had thrown the first punch. But looking at the state of Leo's face, they couldn't help but feel a morbid sense of awe. That big guy was vicious, and he only went for the face. It made them wonder if maybe Leo had run off with the guy's wife or sister. What other explanation was there for such a personal attack? Fortunately, the cops were professionals. No matter how comical a situation was, they were trained not to laugh. Unless, of course, they absolutely couldn't hold it in. One of the younger officers let out a strangled snort. Leo, looking like a bruised pumpkin, froze. His eyes narrowed. What are you laughing at? He knew he looked ridiculous, but where was the basic human decency? Was a little respect too much to ask? If he had a mirror right now, he probably would have lost it himself and charged back out to find Victor Stone. Consequences be damned. The officer quickly straightened his face. Nothing, sir. I was just thinking about. Oh, never mind. Mr. Flynn, it appears you were the victim here. Leo was speechless. No kidding, Sherlock. If you know I'm the victim, then let me go. So can I leave? Leo tried to purse his lips, but the pain stopped him short. The officer was about to nod when a female officer hurried into the room and whispered something in his ear. His expression changed instantly. Mr. Flynn, I'm afraid you can't leave just yet. Leo stared at him, dumbfounded. What do you mean? Someone has filed a formal complaint against you for instigating a public brawl, disturbing the peace, and assault. The officer rattled off a list of charges. Leo looked like he'd been struck by lightning. What the hell was going on? Were these cops blind? Couldn't they see this was a classic case of the attacker playing the victim? A formal complaint? Did they really think he was some pushover they could pin this on? His face hardened. Was it the guy I fought with? Did he file the complaint? This is a police station, not a place for accusations, Mr. Flynn, please watch your tone, the officer said, his voice all business. That confirmed it for Leo. Damn it, they really thought he wouldn't call in his own backup? Before long, Leo's lawyer arrived at the precinct. Seeing him, Leo finally relaxed, a villainous smirk spreading across his battered face. Ahem, a protagonist smirk. Meanwhile, Chloe had also arranged a lawyer for Victor Stone. It couldn't be a familiar face, of course. They had to keep up the charade. So instead of sending the legendary Franklin Archer, she sent Robert Dunn, a lawyer who had graduated from the same law school as Archer. Archer's formidable reputation in legal circles often overshadowed his peers, which gave Dunn the perfect cover to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. Leo's lawyer was there for one reason, to get him out. Dunn, on the other hand, was there not only to get his client out, but also to sling as much mud as possible. He filed a countersuit, accusing Leo of initiating the conflict with verbal provocations and escalating it to a physical altercation. The security cameras had captured the video, but not the audio. With the Vance family's deep pockets, it would only take a small contribution to convince the cafe owner and a few other conveniently placed witnesses to testify in Victor's favor. Anything money could buy, it would buy well. Just like that, the plaintiff became the defendant, and the defendant, the plaintiff. Leo Flynn, slapped with a laundry list of bogus charges, including malicious instigation and public endangerment, was ordered to be held overnight in the precinct's holding cells. He wouldn't be eligible for release, not even on bail, until noon the next day. His lawyer had done his best, but it was useless against a stacked deck. Hey, you again? What are you in for this time? In the holding area, the same guard who had processed Leo last time did a double take. He almost didn't recognize him. In the time that had passed, some of the swelling on Leo's face had gone down, but he still looked rough. Leo just shot the guard a death glare, too furious to speak. The misery was crushing him. Who in their right mind would want to be in this hellhole? Even a ghost would take one look at this place and shake its head in pity. Serves him right, the guard thought with a sneer. Locking up guys like this was a public service. The guard led Leo to his cell. All right, in you go. Leo stared at the filthy, all too familiar space, his lip twitching. I want a different cell. Wasn't this the exact same one he'd been in last time? The mattress and blanket still reeked of urine. The smell hit him before he even stepped inside. This was too much. This was an insult. They hadn't even changed the damn bedding. A different cell? The guard scoffed. Who's the corrections officer here? You or me? Leo's eyes blazed with fury, his fists clenching at his sides. The guard smirked. What? Thinking of assaulting an officer? You'll be staying for a lot longer than a few days if you try. Leo let out a contemptuous snort and forced himself to back down. It wasn't worth escalating things over this worthless punk. The priority was to figure out who Victor Stone was and, more importantly, who had sent him. Seeing Leo comply, the guard locked the cell door and walked away. That big guy had some serious skills. He's no ordinary thug, Leo thought, his eyes as sharp as a hawk's. and whoever is backing him has enough power to completely twist the truth. They must have serious standing in New York. He had already analyzed the situation, but it didn't get him any closer to a useful answer. He truly couldn't recall offending anyone of that stature. A spoiled brat like Asher Vance was too simple-minded. He was all direct provocations and brain-dead charges. The slightest taunt, and Asher would be chomping at the bit for a direct fight. He could be ruled out. Leo pondered for a while longer, but came up empty. He finally gave up. He'd just have someone investigate tomorrow when he got out. That night, the group chat informally known as the Anti-Leo Flynn Alliance was buzzing. Lena and, is this Leo Flynn? Faced with tears of joy. Image. JPG. I just got off work and saw this on TikTok. I'm literally crying from laughing so hard. Chloe Vance? Why didn't he break his nose? Jessica Young. So satisfying. A breath of fresh air. Serafina Hayes. +1. Scarlett Jo. At Chloe Vance. Was this your doing, Chloe? Chloe Vance. Big sis, it wasn't me. I swear. I just opened up Twitter, and there he was, trending for getting his face rearranged. Scarlett Jo. I remember you pulled Anya aside for a private chat this afternoon. Did she do it? Chloe Vance. Looks like I can't hide anything from you guys. It wasn't Anna. Scar. Have you seen the video yet? It's in the group files. The guy who did it is a new bodyguard I hired. Cassie Lee. Seraphaha. .. Nicely done. Absolutely brutal and beautiful. Chloe. Next time you plan something like this, give me a call. I'll come help. Serafina Hayes. So direct? Cassie Lee. Seraph, of course not. I'd wear a mask. At a quiet family restaurant, Catherine Young stared at the chat log on her phone, completely stunned. Seriously? She thought. Are you all really saying this in front of a cop? So, Leo actually was the victim. But damn, it was satisfying. She had to agree with her sister on that. Jessica Young, at Catherine Young, isn't that lowlife being held at your precinct? What's the situation? Keep him locked up as long as you can. Better for everyone if he's not out there causing trouble. Kate managed a wry smile. Sis, please, have a little respect for my profession. The girl who once slayed dragons was becoming one herself. Catherine Young. He's being held overnight. He'll be released at noon tomorrow. Jessica Young. Only one night? Did the person in charge take a bribe? I'll double it. Keep him in there. Kate didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Catherine Young. Sis, please stop joking. Normally, in a case like this, Leo wouldn't have been held at all. This has your fingerprints all over it, doesn't it, Chloe? Chloe Vance. Bingo. You guessed it, Kate. No prize for you, though. Zara Thorne. Why not just kill him? That would solve everything once and for all. The future queen of the criminal underworld had finally emerged from the shadows. She came in hot, skipping right past ruthless and heading straight for sociopathic. Kate's jaw dropped. Are you guys even pretending anymore? You're just openly talking about murder now? Dropping him in the East River? The old Kate would have been appalled by this kind of talk. But now, she was just numb. Fine, let the world burn. I'm tired. Chloe Vance at Zara Thorne. So you were thinking the same thing? Zara Thorne. Need equipment? Or muscle? Chloe Vance. Funny you should mention it. I need both. Scarlett Jo. Chloe, we can't just take things from people for free. I'll cover the costs. Jessica Young. My, listen to you, little sister. Aren't you the one who's about to go bankrupt from that bad oil investment? I have more than enough money. Don't you worry about it. Catherine Young. Sis, when did I invest in oil? I didn't. Jessica Young, not you. Her. At Scarlett Jo. Catherine Young. Oh. Staring at the screen, Kate once again found herself contemplating the three great philosophical questions. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? What the actual F? When did her sister get a new little sister? How come she, the actual sister, didn't know about this? What on earth had happened in this group chat while she was away? Scarlett Jo, huh? Oh, the oil sister? Yes, I did take a loss on that one. But I didn't invest much. Just barely enough to keep the lights on. Jessica Young. What's that supposed to mean, little sister Jo? In the Young family villa, after sending that message, Jessica felt a wave of unease. What is Scarlett Jo playing at? She's not insane, but she's saying insane things. That's highly suspicious. Didn't the Jo family buy a ton of oil shares? With the market in a free fall, holding on to them instead of selling is financial suicide. Scarlett Jo, allow me to keep you in suspense, sister. I'm sure it won't be long before you understand what I mean. The tide has turned. The game is already won. Even Asher Vance is on my side, though he doesn't know it. Scarlett laid her cards on the table. She was done pretending. Over the past few days, she had made an absolute fortune. The returns from those bonds were flooding in. Calling it making a killing was an understatement. She was slowly revealing her hand, but not all of it. The reason she was being coy was because of the housing situation. She didn't mind living with her in-laws, if Asher was willing. If he wasn't, moving out was fine too. After all, it would be their home. Beyond real estate, Scarlett was also preparing for babies. 1 or 2 was too few. They were starting with 3 minimum. After pulling off this once-in-a-lifetime deal, the prestige would be unparalleled. Why would she need to strive for more? She had already reached the pinnacle of life. What else was there to do with the rest of her time but cultivate the next generation of exceptional heirs? The next day at noon, at the precinct holding cells. You know, this whole scene feels kind of familiar. One of the younger guards remarked dryly to his partner. Yeah, the last time I saw him leave like this was the last time he left. I'm shocked. A full minute just went by in 60 seconds. Did you know that if every person saved 1 pack of cigarettes a day, in 10 days they'd have saved 10 packs? Lewis, Williams, both of you, shut your traps and look busy. Is this a comedy club? The sergeant barked. The 2 guards immediately fell silent. Leo was so angry he wanted to start swinging again. Clutching a manila envelope containing his personal effects, he stormed out of the precinct without a backward glance. Hope we don't see you again, the guard from last night called after him. Leo's face grew even darker. Did he have some kind of sickness? Did he look like someone who enjoyed visiting these hellholes? A black sedan was already waiting for him at the curb. Manny Marcos got out. Dragon King. Get in the car, Leo snapped, tossing the envelope at Manny and climbing into the back seat. Manny got behind the wheel. Did you find out who that guy was? Leo asked as the car pulled away. Yes, Dragon King. We got an ID, Manny said, driving. His name is Victor Stone. He's a member of the Wolf Pack, a well-known mercenary group. He was dishonorably discharged after he got on the wrong side of. Manny relayed all the information they gathered. Someone had posted a video of the fight online. While the general public wouldn't know who Victor was, people in their line of work recognized him immediately. What they couldn't find out domestically, they outsourced to their contacts overseas, where the Dragon's Den had its main base of operations. Leo's jaw tightened as he listened. It was just as he'd suspected. Someone who could go toe-to-toe with him was already impressive. But someone who could actually get the upper hand on him? That person was a major player. This Victor Stone was no joke. What about the person who hired him? Leo asked. Did you find out who it was? Manny looked embarrassed. Dragon King, we got the basic intel on Stone, but identifying the person who hired him is going to take a little more time. If you didn't find them, just say you didn't find them. Don't beat around the bush, Leo grumbled, pulling out his phone. Ahem. Dragon King, you might not want to go online, Manny said nervously, catching Leo's reflection in the rearview mirror. That, of course, only piqued Leo's curiosity. Why not? I mean, don't look at the trending topics. And why shouldn't I? Well, Manny trailed off, at a loss for words. It was too late. Leo had already opened his browser. A headline at the top of the search results immediately caught his eye. NYC Cafe Brawl goes viral. Real-life masters throw down in brutal street fight. Leo's eyes started twitching violently. There was a video attached. The thumbnail was a still of his face, swollen and bruised. Not even that one video of the MMA fighter getting knocked out by a Tai Chi master was this humiliating. It's over, Manny thought, bracing himself. Leo tapped play. He skipped through the footage of the actual fighting, fast-forwarding to the part he dreaded most. The close-ups of his pummeled face. It wasn't just a video. There were high-resolution photos, too. Aha! A roar of pure rage erupted from the back seat. Damn it all. Do these sleazy media outlets have a death wish? Who gave them the courage to post this? There were several other videos trending, all featuring him and Victor Stone. KUNG Fu isn't dead. Old school masters spotted on the streets of New York. THIS is what happens when you learn martial arts from a YouTube tutorial. Shocking. Real-life street fighter emerges. Time for the world to know pain. Legit master or fake guru? You be the judge. His face says it all. Leo's eyes were bloodshot. He had never felt so utterly humiliated. Manny, how did you let this happen? Dragon King, I contacted all those media companies. I told them to take the videos down. I threatened them. Manny said, his voice small and helpless. But it's like someone is protecting them, running interference. My pressure had no effect. Leo was practically grinding his teeth to dust. It has to be the bastard who hired Stone. He's behind this, he seethed. On my authority, contact Mole. Tell him to find out who's pulling the strings, and do it now. Manny nodded, but with his hands on the wheel, he couldn't exactly make a call. Leo, seeing the predicament, took out his own phone to contact Kevin Gao. Kevin, I need you to do something for me. Dragon King, my stomach ulcer is acting up again, came Kevin's weak voice from the other end. It's an old problem. The doctor said I need a rest, no stress. He was still in a cast. And Leo wanted him to work? Yeah, right. Keep dreaming. Leo was baffled. Stomach problems? He'd never seen Kevin take any medication when they were overseas. Was this kid try to pull a fast one? Mole, let's not play games. You get this done, and the pay will be more than generous. Ahem. Dragon King, it's not about the money. I'd be happy to help even if you didn't pay. I mean, I'm happy that you do pay, but I really am sick. What kind of sickness? I'll come over and take a look myself. I might even be able to help. This is the kind of sickness with no cure. Leo was losing his patience. Are you deliberately trying to piss me off? What's the status on the Asher Vance situation? Leo asked, changing the subject, hoping for some good news. Silence. Now it was Kevin Gao's turn to be embarrassed. Dragon King, my mission is a bust. Someone from your own dragon's den showed up and ran interference. I can't afford to cross her. I've only got one life. Dragon King, I can't handle the Asher Vance job anymore. You'll have to find someone else. What? What do you mean? Leo's voice was laced with irritation. Have I ever shorted you on your pay? Is this how you do business? Who doesn't want the money? But Anya Kuznetsov showed up out of nowhere. What was I supposed to do? I'm just as frustrated as you are, Kevin said. My skills are limited. I really can't do it. Leo's eye twitched again. This was his so-called elite high-tech operative? He couldn't even handle a simple sabotage mission. What the hell am I paying you for? Patience. He had to be patient. Leo tried a different angle. What about Red Rose? Any progress there? If someone screwed him over, he was going to get revenge. It was that simple. He was a firm believer in an eye for an eye. This kid was really starting to get on his nerves, saying everything he shouldn't and nothing that he should. Kevin didn't know how to respond. He couldn't just admit that he was outmatched and that Red Rose had not only blocked him, but had also counterhacked him. Kevin's face flushed. He cleared his throat. Dragon King, that Red Rose. She's got some serious skills. How about this? Give me a little more time, and I'll get her sorted out. Sorted out? What the hell does that even mean? Are you playing word games with me? I asked for your progress, not for vague promises. So you've made no actual progress, Leo stated, his eyes narrowing. The repeated failures were starting to make his blood boil. Kevin couldn't keep up the act any longer. He decided to just come clean. Red Rose is better than me. She breached the defensive perimeter I built, but she didn't manage to get any critical information from my side. If you have another expert who can replace me, Dragon King, feel free to do so. I'll return your payment in full. I won't take a dime. He said it with such righteous indignation, such unyielding integrity, that it made Leo start questioning his own judgment. Is it possible? Leo thought. Someone that even Mole, the prince of hackers, can't handle actually exists in this country? And I just happened to run into her? What are the odds? Then another possibility struck him. Could they be working together to scam me? But the idea was too absurd. He immediately dismissed it. Kevin and Red Rose didn't even know each other. How could they possibly be in cahoots? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Just keep investigating, Leo finally managed to say, holding back his frustration. Aside from Kevin, he didn't know any hackers who were better. If Red Rose could outmaneuver Kevin, sending anyone else would just be serving them up on a silver platter. Kevin was surprised. He had been fully prepared to be fired. Why was Leo suddenly letting him continue? Still, it made sense. If even he had been bested by Red Rose, anyone else would likely fare even worse. If Leo had a better option, he would have already used it. You got it, Dragon King, Kevin said with a relieved smile. He was a vengeful person, too. Red Rose had made him lose face, and he was determined to get it back. His reputation in the hacking community depended on it. Meanwhile, Asher had finished his scenes for the day. For him, filming was a breeze. Nearly every take was a one-shot, no matter how difficult the lines or complex the action. He handled it all with casual ease. Today, Chloe had dragged Anya off somewhere, so the passenger seat of his supercar was blissfully empty. To say Asher was in a good mood was an understatement. The Dragon Queen was like having a human surveillance camera constantly pointed at him. It was unsettling. Asher drove aimlessly through the streets, just enjoying the drive. A drifter. As he was making a U-turn near a 7-Eleven, a moped suddenly shot out from a side street, heading straight for him with terrifying speed. Holy crap. Asher's mind went blank. The sight of the oncoming scooter froze him for a second. Fortunately, he wasn't turning very fast, maybe 15 miles an hour, so it was easy to slam on the brakes. The girl on the moped, however, wasn't so lucky. Crunch! The moped was no match for the supercar. It crumpled on impact, and the girl was thrown forward by the momentum, flying over the handlebars. A bag of snacks and sodas that had been hanging from the front of the scooter burst open, scattering its contents all over the asphalt. Through the windshield, Asher saw her face, delicate with fine features. She was wearing a thick, fleece cartoon-themed pajama set. She landed face down on the hood of his car. That moped must have been going full throttle. Asher threw the car in a park and quickly got out. The intersection was huge. He couldn't believe he'd still managed to get into an accident. "Miss, are you okay? Do you need me to call an ambulance?" Asher asked, his heart pounding. Getting sued was one thing. Someone being seriously hurt was another. Reina Gao's head was spinning, all because she forgot to buy her precious otaku happy water. She had just made a quick run to the nearest convenience store to restock her favorite snacks, and now this. Who could she complain to? All right, it was partly her fault for going too fast. She hadn't been able to brake in time. But the guy driving the car wasn't blameless either. Reina's eyes shot wide open. "Don't you know how to honk when you make a turn?" She snapped. This was a school zone. Honking was prohibited. Asher just stared dumbfounded. He started to explain, but Reina wasn't looking at him. Her attention was on the sizzling sound coming from the ground. She scrambled off the hood of his car, her face twisting in agony. "Ack, my soda. The bottle broke." She wailed. "I only had one sip. And my snacks. My chicken feet, my potato chips." Wait, did the crash scramble her brain? That can't be right. She didn't even hit her head. And she's not an insurance scammer. So why is she more worried about her snacks? Aren't you more valuable than a bag of chips? Asher was starting to panic. In his confusion, he had only given Reina a cursory glance. She now had her back to him, squatting on the pavement and sifting through her spilled grocery bag for any salvageable snacks. Hearing Asher's thoughts, not helping her, but instead murmuring judgmental commentary and even accusing her of being a scammer, infuriated her. Reina shot to her feet, spun around, and glared at him. "A scammer? Your whole family is a bunch of scammers. I don't need—" Her tirade came to an abrupt halt as she finally got a good look at his face. Thump, thump, thump. Oh, my God. Did I just crash into my future husband? How could a man this handsome possibly exist? Reina's heart pounded in her chest. A moment ago, it had been aching from the impact of the crash. Now, it was aching for a completely different reason. It was lovesickness. As Reina was busy sizing him up, Asher was looking at her. Shit, he had thought she was a scammer. But he knew this woman. Holy crap, 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 crap. I totally mistook you for an insurance scammer. But if it's you, then prioritizing snacks over personal safety makes perfect sense. You're a total shut-in, after all. Wait, how does she know I think she's a scammer? Ping, congratulations, host. You have received plus $95.27 in cash. Asher's deep, magnetic voice cut through the air. Ahem, how did you know what I was thinking? He asked, his eyes scanning her for any injuries. One thing at a time. He had hit someone. Even if it wasn't primarily his fault, he had to make sure she wasn't seriously hurt. Especially since she was one of the heroines. One more heroine meant one more potential ally in taking down the Vance family. Better safe than sorry. Reina was completely bewildered. What he was thinking? How would I know what you're thinking? Didn't you just say it out loud? Then it hit her. She had been so flustered. If Asher had actually spoken, his lips would have moved, but they hadn't. Not even a twitch. And somehow, he even knew her name. It seemed like he recognized her. The sheer volume of new information was enough to blow her mind for a year. How could I possibly know what you're thinking? Reina stammered, her face flushing under Asher's intense gaze. This man was just too handsome. Why was she saving up all that money? To marry a man, of course. And the one standing in front of her seemed perfect. Asher stared at her suspiciously, making her feel even more flustered. She pointed a slender finger at his flashy green supercar. You're driving a supercar, and I'm on a moped. I suddenly appear in front of you. Isn't it normal for you to assume I'm trying to pull a scam? Asher felt her explanation had holes, but at the same time, it made sense. These kinds of things happen all the time. Right now, since she was pretending not to know him, Asher had only one thought. Get away. Fast. He wanted nothing more to do with any of the novel's heroines he hadn't met yet. Let me transfer you some money. You should go get checked out by a doctor, Asher said, pulling out his phone. At this point, he might as well just roll with it and treat her like a scammer looking for a payout. He knew Reina Gao didn't need the money, but he desperately wanted to cut all ties before they could even form. Given how twisted the script had become, any interaction could trigger some unforeseen chain reaction. Asher's philosophy was simple. When in doubt, run. A wicked, villainous-like smirk spread across Reina's face. Well. This handsome man thought she was some poor, helpless girl trying to cash in on an accident, but he had clearly recognized her. Why pretend he didn't? What was he hiding? Being able to hear his thoughts was a game changer. There was no way she was letting this gorgeous guy get away. Her heart was fluttering so hard she thought she might pass out. She clutched her chest, her expression instantly shifting to one of agony. Oh, my chest really hurts. I think it's from the impact. The chest pain was real, but it wasn't from the crash. When two people meet, it's fate. When a person and a car meet, it's a love story. When two cars meet, it's an accident. Right now, she had a person, a car, and another car. If that didn't scream, husband sent from heaven, she didn't know what did. Your chest hurts. Asher's panic intensified. A checkup. She needs a full checkup. Get her to the best hospital. Run every test imaginable. She can't have any lasting injuries. Raina's inner fangirl was about to die from happiness. This man was too perfect. He sounded so good, he looked so good, and he was so caring and considerate. She had to have him. Absolutely had to. Before Raina could say another word, she heard Asher's thoughts again. This heroine can't have any permanent damage. That moron Dragon King is counting on her to use her hacking skills to infiltrate the Vance Corporation systems. If she messes up, we're all screwed. Asher helped Raina pick up her moped and move it to a nearby parking spot. Get in my car, he told her. I'll have someone come clean this up and bring your scooter to you. We're going to the hospital right now for a checkup. Asher's voice could make anyone swoon. If you ignored his inner monologue, he was the perfect, caring gentleman. A dream husband. But Raina heard every single word he was thinking. He knew who she was. He even knew what she did for a living. And yet, he wasn't letting on. Instead, he was worried about some heroine and protagonist and a Dragon King. Wait a minute. Could he have been sent by the Dragon King? The thought made Raina's chest pain vanish instantly. All that money she'd scammed from Leo was safely in her pocket. There was no way she was giving it back. Who are you? Raina asked, biting her lip. Asher blinked. Me? I'm Asher Vance. Oh, you're Asher Vance, wait. Raina froze, the name finally registering. You're Asher Vance? She asked, her voice rising in disbelief as she stared at him. She was face to face with the man himself. Thanks to Asher, she had managed to fleece Leo Flynn out a nice sum of money. As a hacker, a super hacker, she never paid for anything. She just modified some data, wrote her own scripts, and went on a rampage. She was a master of getting things for free. You know me? Now, it was Asher's turn to panic. No, please no. Why do all the unlucky things happen to me? Raina nodded. I know you. For a fleeting moment, Asher felt like he was seeing a ghost. Then Raina continued. Aren't you the son of the richest man in New York? Asher let out a sigh of relief. Oh, that's all. Scared me for a second. Raina hadn't recognized Asher at first, which was understandable. The difference between his photos and real life was staggering. Most people look better in pictures. Asher was the opposite. He was handsome in photos, but in person, he was 100 times more so. And then there was his aura, something a picture could never capture. All right, since you know who I am, and you know I'm a busy man, I'll write you a check for $10,000. Go get yourself checked out, Asher said, dropping the pretense. He was done playing games. Raina was a known money lover, and since the accident wasn't even his fault, $10,000 was more than generous. Anything that could be solved with money wasn't a real problem. Raina's cheeks flushed. $10,000? Did she look like she needed his money? She wanted him. If she had to choose between him and the money, she'd choose him every time. Her heart was racing, and she couldn't calm it down. My chest feels a little tight. This isn't about money, Raina said, putting on her best damsel in distress act, one hand clutching her collar. You think it's not enough? Asher asked, suspicious. Raina was a terrible actress. Her other hand was clutching her stomach. What was that supposed to mean? Raina panicked slightly. Asher decided to up the offer. How about 100,000? Here's 100 grand. Just pretend you never saw me. If it had been anyone else, Raina would have happily accepted. $100,000 just for falling on the hood of a car? That was faster than robbing a bank. But this was different. I'll give you 100,000 to come home with me, and I'll support you for life. She thought, it's really not about the money. My chest really hurts, she said, her expression pained. Damn it, this little money grubber isn't following the script. She's trying to trick me, to ambush me, an old villain like me. Is this right? Yes, it is. Wait, what if she's really hurt? Asher gently took her hand. Get in. We're going to the nearest hospital for a checkup. Raina hadn't expected him to be so direct. This was perfect. She didn't resist, letting him lead her to his car. Being able to hear his thoughts gave her an incredible sense of confidence. Why else would God grant her this ability if not to arrange their marriage? And you don't argue with God's plan. At the Vance Medical Center, Asher's identity got them the VIP treatment. The test results came back quickly. Nothing was wrong. The doctor, knowing she was Asher's guest, just told her to get some rest, drink plenty of water, and prescribe some mild painkillers for the chest pain. A false alarm, Asher thought, relieved. She was perfectly healthy. Go home and get some rest. And remember to take your medicine on time, Asher instructed. If she hadn't been able to hear his thoughts, Raina might have been moved to tears. But she knew the truth. I'm not sick. This was all just to spend more time with you. Actually, on second thought, she was sick. Lovesick. And only one person could cure her. Asher. I'm really hungry. I haven't eaten yet, she said, her face blushing. Asher looked at her. The snacks that had been scattered all over the road were probably her lunch. Sigh. Might as well see this through to the end. He hadn't eaten either. Fine. Let's go. Yay. Hey, we're just getting food. You don't have to hold on to my arm. Doesn't the rumor mill say you get a new girlfriend every week? Am I not as good as all those other nameless vixens? Raina shot back. Though she was inexperienced in love, as a dedicated shut-in, she had studied countless guides on how to win a man's heart. Be proactive. Be bold. Be observant. She had been single for too long. Now that the perfect man had literally crashed into her life, she couldn't let him get away. And from what she had gathered from his inner thoughts, he was still completely untouched. The news had shocked her. It was time to make her move. Hesitation meant defeat. Only by being aggressive could she win. Asher was convinced Raina was just trying to take advantage of him, but he had no proof. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Chloe, what did you think of those penthouses we just saw? Scarlett Joe asked with a smile. Chloe was still dazed. She had been planning her next move against Leo Flynn with Anya when Scarlett had shown up out of nowhere and dragged her out to look at real estate. After touring several opulent apartments, Chloe's head was still spinning. Scarlett waved a slender hand in front of her face. Chloe, are you listening? Huh? Oh yeah, Chloe said with a forced smile. They were all great. The decor was totally my style. Scarlett nodded and turned to the real estate agent. That one, the 3 vacant ones next to it, and the other ones we saw earlier. I'll take them all. The agent's jaw dropped. She stammered, Ms. Joe, are you sure? That's 10 units in total. Yes, Scarlett said with a smile. I'll take all 10. Scar, are you insane? What are you going to do with so many apartments? Chloe asked, baffled. It wasn't that they couldn't afford it, but this was the pinnacle at Central Park South, one of the most exclusive addresses in the city. Each unit was a small fortune. 3 of the penthouses they'd seen were the largest in the building, priced at nearly $25 million each. When your brother and I are old, we can collect rent from them. We'll be landlords, Scarlett said matter-of-factly. The agent looked like she'd just been struck by lightning. You're spending over $200 million just to be a landlord? Wouldn't it be easier to just put that money in a bank and live off the interest? Chloe was just as stunned. I thought of you as a sister, and you're trying to become my sister-in-law? Are you crazy? Chloe swallowed hard. Scar, this isn't a good investment. For the amount you're spending, you could buy your own land and develop a building yourself. I thought you were buying a place for yourself, but you're planning to rent them out? It won't be easy to find tenants who can afford this place. Her heart ached with a twinge of jealousy. This woman had too much money. Scarlett just smiled at her. I know. This afternoon, you can come with me to look at some villas in the suburbs. What? You're buying more? Chloe's eyes widened. Of course, Scarlett said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. What if your brother doesn't like living in an apartment? Then we'll live in a villa. Chloe felt her world crumbling. My goddamn mind is breaking. You really are trying to become my sister-in-law. You had my brother in our past life. In this one, it should be my turn. While Chloe was having an existential crisis, Scarlett turned to the still-frozen real estate agent. Can we get the paperwork done today? Yes. Ms. Joe, will you be financing? Financing? Why would I need financing? I'm paying in full. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I misspoke. Please forgive my ignorance, the agent said, bowing her head repeatedly. Her attitude couldn't have been more obsequious. She knew who Scarlett Joe was. A woman who could walk in and buy 10 ultra-luxury apartments in cash was not someone you trifled with. After this one sale, the agent could buy her own sport car and a house. It was a good thing her manager wasn't here. Her colleagues could only watch in envy. Right now, she would have called Scarlett Mom if she'd asked. Scarlett Joe was just offering too much. Chloe was completely and utterly shaken. She bit her lip, her eyes filled with a mixture of confusion and suspicion. Scar, did your family's house burn down or something? Why are you buying so many places at once? In the VIP closing room, Scarlett signed the documents without a moment's hesitation. She wrote down Asher Vance. In her mind, what was Asher's was hers, and what was hers was also hers. When you have money, you want to buy everything you see. For the current Scarlett Joe, spending $250 million was like an ordinary person spending a couple $100. It didn't faze her in the slightest. Scarlett took a sip of high-end black tea and said calmly, something like that. Out with the old, in with the new. Chloe nodded, not quite understanding. Then her gaze fell on the name on the property deeds. It was Vance, not Joe. Chloe's heart skipped a beat. She went into full-blown panic mode. What is this? What is she trying to pull? You buy all these properties, not for yourself, but for my brother? What is your game? Chloe's expression stiffened. Scar, did you write the wrong name? Scarlett glanced down at the documents and frowned slightly. You're right, I did. A glimmer of hope returned to Chloe's eyes. She felt her spirits lift, only to have them dashed again by Scarlett's next move. Scarlett picked up the pen, made a few flourishes on the paper, and then looked at it with a satisfied smile. There, that looks much better. The signature for Vance is much neater now. Chloe was so embarrassed, she felt like her skull was about to fly off. That's not what I meant, Scar. Please don't misunderstand. What I meant was, why are you putting my brother's name on the deeds? We don't need your money. Women. If Scarlett thought she could win them over with material possessions, she had another thing coming. It was just moving money around from one rich family to another. Chloe's mind was in turmoil. She felt like she was in way over her head. After all her careful planning, was she about to lose everything? A deep sense of crisis washed over her. Money makes the world go round, and under the influence of Scarlett's immense wealth, the real estate agents were working at 10 times their usual speed. Within an hour, all the paperwork was completed. There was supposed to be a prize draw for new owners, but Scarlett couldn't be bothered with cheap gifts. She gathered the 10 red-covered deed folders and dragged Chloe out to lunch. After all, they still had villas to look at in the afternoon. Scarlett's plan was simple. Buy a villa, buy an apartment, buy another villa, buy another apartment. Did they really think she would be satisfied with just owning a floor at the Pinnacle? She needed properties in good school districts, too. As for the villas, different environments would have different effects on a child's development. Different vibes, you know? She and Asher couldn't possibly live in all these houses themselves. But even if other women came along to claim a piece of the pie, she wouldn't mind. Women like Jessica Young. Please. As the main wife, why would she be afraid of some concubine? The first wife is never afraid of the second. And for a second wife to even get in the door, she'd have to get past the parents, which would be impossible. So, she would have to content herself with pleasing Asher. But the first wife? She gets the best of both worlds. She could even use Asher's parents to keep the others in line. Most women might play it that way, but not Scarlett. She was looking forward to seeing the look of humiliation and resentment on Jessica Yang's face. At the Phoenix Apartments. I had someone drop your moped off. You could go down and get it later, Asher said. Oh, Raina replied, her voice flat. After spending more time with him, she had realized that she wasn't the only heroine in his thoughts. She immediately began to wonder if the other women could also hear his thoughts. If they could, then she wasn't unique. You're getting married, but the bride isn't me. A sad song played in her head. Asher was confused. Before lunch, Raina had been all over him. Now, she was cold and distant. Maybe the novelty had just worn off. That was probably for the best, he thought. Well, see you, Asher said, rolling up the window as he prepared to drive off. He was who he was, a lone wolf. As for see you again, he hoped they wouldn't. At least not until the ridiculous protagonist, Leo Flynn, was about to cause more trouble. Then she could come out and do her part. Not long after Asher drove away, Raina's beloved moped was delivered. After confirming it was hers, the delivery person left. Raina's brow furrowed as she muttered to herself, maybe I really am the only one? Maybe only I can hear Asher's thoughts. But even as she said it, she didn't believe it. At Jessica Yang's birthday party, the future head of the Yang Corporation had proposed to Asher. She was one of the heroines, too. And then there was Serafina Hayes. And Asher wasn't a real simp. He was just pretending. There were so many things she needed to confirm. The heroines were one thing. The other was Leo Flynn. From what she understood from Asher's thoughts, Leo was the so-called protagonist of this world. The guy with heaven-defying luck, the one all the beautiful women threw themselves at. Raina snorted. Yeah, right. The guy was a cheapskate, good at haggling and nothing else. First things first, I need to get Jessica Yang's contact information, she decided. As the elevator reached the 14th floor, Raina unlocked her apartment door and stepped inside. It was only then that she realized something was terribly wrong. Oh crap, I forgot about my soda. My happiness is gone. Raina chugged a can of soda, the fizz exploding in her mouth, and let out a satisfied groan. She looked at the string of numbers on her monitor. Finally got the number. Jessica Yang's private phone number wasn't something you could just look up. Even the number she gave out in business circles was her secretary's. All calls were screened. Only the most important ones were passed on to Jessica. Raina had just skipped that step entirely. At the Yang Corporation headquarters, it had been another grueling day. From morning till night, it was nonstop work. In the CEO's office, Jessica Yang was slumped in her leather chair, utterly exhausted. The volcanic clay beauty formula had gone viral. It didn't need any advertising. TikTok, social media, and million-follower beauty influencers were all clamoring to promote it, asking only for free samples. The desire for beauty was universal, and the volcanic clay formula had hit the bullseye. BZT, BZT, her phone vibrated on the desk. Jessica had just closed her eyes, but they snapped open again. She picked up the phone. An unknown number, she murmured, swiping to answer. Hello. A woman's voice came from the other end. Is this Ms. Jessica Yang? Yes, it is. Ahem. Raina cleared her throat and then, taking a leap of faith, said, We're living in a novel. The protagonist is Leo Flynn, and there are heroines and stuff. You're one of them. She was testing the waters. If Jessica called her a psycho, Raina would be ecstatic. It would mean her theory was wrong, that Jessica couldn't hear Asher's thoughts and knew nothing. Any normal person would react that way, either with insults or by hanging up immediately. If she hesitated, that would also be telling. Raina waited, her heart pounding with anticipation. Jessica didn't disappoint. She replied almost instantly. Who are you? When did you come into contact with Asher? An ordinary person wouldn't know. Only a heroine could hear Asher's thoughts. And this voice was unfamiliar. There was only one possibility. The woman on the other end of the line was another heroine. A bitter smile formed on Raina's lips. She wasn't the only one. I just met him. It seems like you know a lot about our world. Can you fill me in? Jessica was taken aback. So, she's a newbie. But why should I tell her anything? Among the established heroines, Cassie Lee was relatively straightforward. Chloe didn't count, being his sister. Kate didn't count either. He was her brother-in-law. The rest of them? All scheming vixens. Especially that newcomer, Lena, and at the birthday party, she had acted all high and mighty, but then she turned around and started filming a movie with Asher. And now, another unknown factor had appeared. Jessica felt it was necessary to nip this in the bud. I don't know much myself. But first, can you tell me how you got my private number? It seems like you come from a well-off family. Know your enemy. Right now, Jessica was exposed, while this woman was in the shadows. If she got too close to Asher, if she found some way to manipulate him, with his soft, kind-hearted nature, he'd be putty in her hands. Oh, that, Raina said casually. It was easy. I hacked into your office computer, used that to access the chat software on your phone, and then hacked into your phone from there. Jessica shot up from her chair, her expression tense. She immediately turned to her computer, running every antivirus program she had. Her computer contained a wealth of important business strategies. Hearing the frantic clicking of a keyboard from the other end, Raina chuckled reassuringly. Don't worry. Every profession has its rules. I'm no exception. I just needed your phone number. I didn't look at anything else. Hearing this, Jessica's racing heart began to slow, but she wasn't completely relieved. Who knew if Raina was telling the truth? This new heroine was a hacker, and a damn good one. The antivirus software was useless. The custom defense network she'd paid a fortune for showed no signs of a breach. God only knew how this woman had managed to get in undetected. Jessica composed herself and said with a cold snort, You'd better not have. In the digital age, a top-tier hacker without a moral compass could do whatever they wanted. As long as they weren't caught, they could infiltrate home security systems, car cameras, and public surveillance with ease. It was like they could strip you naked without you ever knowing. You've been in contact with Asher for longer than I have. Are you sure you don't know anything else? Raina asked, still hoping. If she had been unscrupulous, she could have just read Jessica's chat logs and gotten all the information she needed. Recruit or suppress? Jessica hesitated for a moment, then chose to recruit. A super hacker was an invaluable asset. Scarlett Jo had been acting suspiciously lately, and Jessica didn't know what she was up to. The unknown was the most terrifying thing. Jessica would not allow Scarlett to slip out of her control. She couldn't let all her efforts end up just paving the way for Scarlett to win Asher. I know some things, Jessica admitted. Raina was confused. What the hell? I thought we were all on the same team here. Didn't you just say you didn't know anything? What are you after? All right, Raina said, swallowing hard. Tell me what you know. Getting information from Asher directly was risky. If she kept probing, he'd get suspicious. The best way to get up to speed was to learn from the veterans. 2 hours later, Raina had finished listening to Jessica's brief rundown of their world. It was insane. Off the charts, mind-bogglingly insane. So that's why Leo Flynn had just happened to find her to do his dirty work. It was all part of the script. If it hadn't been for the volcanic clay incident where she double-crossed him, she never would have blocked him. After all, she had cut ties with her family. She needed the money to survive. The root of the problem was Asher. In this life, being able to hear his thoughts was like knocking over the first domino. One falls, they all fall. And most crucial part? There were 7 or 8 known heroines. And who knew how many unknown ones, like her, were out there? Raina silently cursed the idiot author who created this world. 1 or 2 heroines would have been enough. Why so many? It was just making things unnecessarily difficult for her. Starting the game on nightmare mode? How was she supposed to play that? Raina's jaw hung open. When in doubt, chug some soda to calm the nerves. Jessica took a sip of tea and then said coolly, "I've told you everything you wanted to know. In exchange, I need you to do me a favor." "What favor?" Raina asked curiously. "I want you to hack into Scarlett Jo's electronic devices and find out where she's investing her money." Raina smiled sheepishly. That doesn't seem right." Jessica's face darkened. "You didn't ask for my permission when you hacked into my computer and phone. Besides, I'm not asking you to do anything illegal." Are you sure you know what illegal means?" "This is the very definition of it." Raina thought, "I suspect you're lying through your teeth, and I have evidence." "Ahem. I apologize for what I did earlier," Raina said, then added firmly, "I'm a woman of principle." "I'll pay you," Jessica said, laying her cards on the table. She'd just throw money at the problem. Where do hackers get their income? From clients. Raina had just said she was a law-abiding citizen who didn't take on unethical jobs. But was taking down a villain really unethical? This was about forming a united front. Jessica almost regretted the offer. A hacker as skilled as Raina surely wasn't short on cash. But then, she realized she had overestimated Raina's principles. How much? Raina's voice changed completely. A sly, sincere, "I would never rip you off" smile spread across her face. Jessica took a sharp breath. "So, this is the kind of woman you are. And she was supposed to be a heroine? Pathetic. Looks like she wasn't much of a competitor after all." Raina realized she had let her true colors show. "Whoops. That was just instinct. It doesn't count." "Ahem. Miss Yan, I was just joking. Don't mind me," she said, laughing awkwardly. "I do mind. I mind a lot." Jessica's eye twitched. "It's an occupational hazard," Raina bluffed. No matter what Jessica said after that, Raina was immovable. Jessica rubbed her temples, a headache forming. "If we can't figure out Scarlett's plan soon, Asher will be in danger," she muttered to herself. Scarlett's plan? It involves Asher. That piqued Raina's interest. "What plan? What does it have to do with Asher?" "Oh, right. I forgot to tell you," Jessica said, slapping her forehead. There had been too much going on lately. Why were all these vixens flocking to Asher? For his body and his money. With Asher, you got the man and the fortune. Jessica didn't need the money, but that didn't mean the other heroines didn't. So, Jessica gave Raina another rundown of the current situation, their common enemy, and who the other heroines were. If you want a horse to run, you have to feed it. Thank God Raina had come to her first. Gaining a useful ally was a huge win. Once she had Asher, she could cast the rest aside. Raina finally understood. Damn, Scarlett Jo is a one-woman powerhouse. No wonder the other heroines have to team up. Not only is she engaged to Asher, but she's also hiding some big secret. Since it involved Asher, she couldn't just stand by. The favor was as good as done. But the money. Sister, do you have any money? Raina asked shyly. I'm a little short on cash lately. But don't get me wrong, it's just that my work efficiency doubles when I see money. Once the job is done, I'll return it all. Raina was a year and a half younger than Jessica, and she was the newcomer. The heroine's power was scattered. Besides Scarlett, Jessica's faction was the strongest. It was good to have a powerful ally. Calling Jessica sister wasn't a loss. Jessica was speechless. A leopard can't change its spots. With a heavy heart, she accepted this new, quirky ally. Add me on WhatsApp later, and send me your bank account number. I'll wire you 10 million. Lately, the Yang Corporation stock had skyrocketed. 10 million was nothing, especially since Raina was worth it. A hacker who could silently breach her defenses? That kind of talent was priceless. Sister, what do you take me for? Raina protested. You don't have to give me that much. A few 100,000 would be enough motivation. And I'm going to pay you back anyway. 10 million is too much. Will it cause problems for you? With the bank? Jessica asked. Don't worry. With my status, they won't investigate you. Raina shook her head vigorously. That's not what I mean. I'm not afraid of being investigated. It's too much money. I'm giving it to you. So take it. Don't feel bad. Just get the job done. Jessica said. Afterward, let's meet up tonight. I'll introduce you to the other heroines. Raina was thrilled. She had found her people. I guarantee I will complete the mission assigned by the organization. Jessica's face went blank. It took her a moment to reply. Are you some kind of dork? Are you some kind of dork? Raina reacted like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, shouting a rapid-fire denial. I'm not, don't say that. Her vehement denial only made Jessica more suspicious, but it didn't matter now. Let's leave it at that for now. I'll be waiting for your good news, Jessica said encouragingly before hanging up. They added each other on WhatsApp, and Jessica had her secretary wire $10 million to Raina's account. Then she walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing out at the glittering New York City skyline. What on earth has that woman done? She whispered to herself, her eyes narrowing. Me lose? Heh, not a chance. With Jessica's help, providing Scarlett's phone number, social media accounts, and other details, Raina was armed and ready. Hacking directly into Scarlett's phone was risky, but the potential reward was huge. No risk, no reward. A few $100 billion in liquid assets was no small sum. Unless it vanished into thin air through some system-like cheat, any human transaction, no matter how carefully executed, would leave a trail. After hours of intense work, Raina's eyes were bloodshot, and her face was beaded with sweat, but she had finally figured out where the money had gone. Holy hell, it was all in oil bonds. While Raina kept most of her own money in the bank, she dabbled in stocks and futures. She was no professional, but she had a decent understanding of the market. The recent news about the new oil discovery was everywhere. You couldn't go online without seeing it trending. My dear sweet mother of God, she gasped. Hundreds of billions, all in oil bonds. How much money is that? I've never seen that much money in my life. Comparing fortunes like this is just soul-crushing. Raina's chest heaved. The news was enough to stun her for a year. You think you're playing chess while your opponent is playing 4D chess, but in reality, they've already left the stratosphere. One word, insane. Absolutely insane. How are the rest of them supposed to compete? The game was so rigged, they were already dead in the water. Raina took another half hour to process the bombshell. She grabbed the half-empty bottle of soda and chugged it down. I have to tell Jessica, she decided. I can't be the only one suffering. Let them suffer with me. She called Jessica. A moment later, the call connected. Well, that was fast, Jessica said, a hint of surprise in her voice. You're very efficient. Money talks. And when money talks this loudly, it makes you run. Raina ignored the teasing and got straight to the point. Sister, I found where the money went. And? What did she do with it? Jessica asked, taking a sip of coffee. Scarlett bought crude oil bonds with all of it. Hundreds of billions worth. My God, Raina exclaimed, all composure gone. Hundreds of billions in futures? She's going to lose it all. I'm surprised we haven't seen her crying yet. No, not futures bonds. Oh, I see, so it's crude oil bonds. Crash. The coffee cup slipped from Jessica's hand, shattering on the floor. Hot coffee splashed on her silk stockings. But in that moment, she didn't even feel the burn. Her mind went blank, a deafening roar filling her ears. All of it in crude oil bonds? She stammered, her lips trembling. How could she dare? The Yang family had the volcanic clay formula, but to make the kind of money Scarlett was about to make from this one deal, they would have to work tirelessly for decades. And with the way oil prices were plummeting, the gap between them would only grow. It would take at least 100 years to catch up. By then, Asher and Scarlett's grandchildren, no, great-grandchildren, will be getting married. Jessica remembered Scarlett's confident, triumphant smirk from their last conversation. She took a sharp, ragged breath, gritting her teeth. That bitch, she hissed. I can't believe you're that kind of woman. You must have gotten the information from Asher's thoughts. There's no way you would go all in without a guaranteed win. Asher is too naive. You tricked him. As Jessica raged to herself, her face contorted with fury, Raina was putting the pieces together. So that's how she did it. The parts she couldn't understand now made perfect sense. Damn it, Scarlett. So that's your game. She was filled with a burning regret. Why hadn't she met Asher first? Why hadn't she thought of this brilliant scheme? Use the intel from his thoughts to make even more money. She could have had the husband and the fortune. Jessica was still reeling, but Raina was already in battle mode. Sister, what do we do now? Assemble the Revengers. It would take a heroine to defeat a villain. Right now, they all had one common enemy, Scarlett Jo. If they continued to fight alone, the only one left standing at the end would be Scarlett. And Jessica Yang would not let that happen. Night fell over New York City. At a restaurant in Bushwick named, with a thick layer of irony, the usual spot, a new coalition was forming. It was the second time the women had gathered here, the first being for the now infamous insect banquet. That technically made it their usual spot, a fact not lost on them. Tonight's attendees included the group's de facto leader, Jessica Young, along with Serafina Hayes, Chloe Vance, Anya Kuznetsov, dragged along by Chloe to witness the drama, and Cassandra Cassie Lee, who was mostly there to fill a seat. The newest member of their clandestine club was Raina Gao. Lena and was still on set filming, and Scarlett Jo was, for obvious reasons, persona non grata. How could they plot a coup with the queen in attendance? Raina had shown up in sweatpants and a hoodie, expecting a low-key meeting with Jessica. Instead, she'd walked into a royal flush of goddesses. Every woman at the table was a supermodel-tier beauty, the kind you rarely see outside of a magazine cover. Raina felt a pang of cosmic injustice. If she had sins to atone for, couldn't God just smite her directly? Why send this army of flawless competitors to mess with her head? This was supposed to be her quiet, harmless, terminally online life. Now it was a competition, a goddamn arms race. All right, Jessica, we're all here, Chloe said, cracking a sunflower seed between her teeth and dusting her hands. What's so important it couldn't be a text? Zara Thorne leveled a sharp gaze at Jessica. Are you finally going to tell us what's going on? Their calm exteriors were a carefully constructed facade. In reality, they were buzzing with anxiety. The rumor was that Scarlett had secured a decisive, undeniable trump card. One so powerful that even Eleanor and Lawrence Vance were ready to gift-wrap their son and deliver him to her doorstep. It was insane, unconscionable. For Scarlett to hoard such a prize for herself was a crime against their collective, a moral failing of the highest order. They had to sabotage this wonderful opportunity for her. Ahem, this terrible turn of events. It's not something I can explain in a sentence or two, so just be patient, Jessica said, holding up a hand before gesturing toward Raina. To be precise, if it weren't for our new recruit here, we'd all still be in the dark, completely played by Scarlett. Every head swiveled to face Raina. Chloe's inner monologue flared. Raina, you finally arrived. You shouldn't have come. Raina's imaginary reply. And yet, I am here. Even Anya spared Raina a curious glance from under her bangs. Being the center of attention was a foreign concept to Raina. She was a professional ghost, the unnoticed woman in the corner. Now, she was suddenly being hailed as the village's last hope. The whiplash was intense. You're exaggerating, Raina said, a rare note of modesty in her voice. I just stumbled upon it. A coincidence, really. The more casual she acted, the less they believed her. Yeah, right, they all thought. This woman could probably hack our bank accounts from her toaster. Don't play innocent with us. Just spit it out already. Zara snapped, her patience worn thin. Jessica beckoned a waiter over, her brow furrowed so deeply it looked like she was trying to solve a quantum physics problem. Let's order first, then we'll talk. Zara shot to her feet, her chair scraping against the floor. I didn't drive all the way out here to have dinner with you. She made to leave. Jessica tapped a perfectly manicured finger on the tabletop. Bonds. Scarlett bought a massive number of bonds. The word hung in the air. Zara slowly sank back in her seat. Bonds? A massive number? How massive? Chloe stopped chewing her sunflower seeds. As a reincarnator, she knew this was a deviation from the original script. Scarlett had never made a move like this before. Knowing her, massive meant a number with at least 10 zeros. For Jessica to call an emergency meeting over it, these bonds had to be a guaranteed gold mine. Chloe felt like she was grasping a crucial piece of the puzzle, but another piece was still missing, leaving an irritating itch in her mind, like a kitten batting at a string just out of reach. Besides Jessica, the only people in the room who weren't visibly tense were Raina, who already knew the secret, and Anya, who was perpetually unbothered by worldly concerns. Raina, why don't you introduce yourself to the others while I order? Jessica suggested. Raina nodded. Hey, I'm Raina Gao, 20-something, single, no dating history. I like gaming, staying home, and drinking soda. Chloe suddenly interjected. Did you by any chance spend 2.5 years in some K-pop boot camp? Raina's eyes widened in shock. Yeah, how did you know? For a fleeting moment, she thought she'd found a kindred spirit. Chloe just sighed internally. So predictable. A simple introduction is fine, Chloe said, switching gears. I'm Chloe Vance, heiress to the Vance Corporation. At this point, she was tired of the sister label. The world saw her as Asher's little sister, but nobody knew the lengths she'd gone to for him. Ever since her reincarnation, she'd subconsciously avoided leaning on that identity. If she wanted to win Asher for herself, she couldn't be just his sister, not forever. She could endure the gossip, but could he? Chloe? Nice name. Can I call you Chloe? Raina's eyes lit up. A sister-in-law this cute? Where else could you find one? She got along with Chloe, and she got along with Asher. That meant she basically got along with the whole Vance family. Say no more. This was a perfect match. Chloe smiled sweetly. Of course. You know yo. After Chloe, the other women introduced themselves. By the time they finished, Jessica had placed their order. She handed the menu to Raina. Chloe, Serafina, and I already know what we want for last time, but I wasn't sure about your taste, so I didn't order for you. Raina waved her hand dismissively. I'm not picky. I'll have whatever you're having. Jessica was about to explain, but Chloe cut in with a wicked grin. Is that so? Well, when the food gets here, don't you dare back out, Raina. I won't, Raina said confidently. Nice try. You think you can make me the outcast? You think I'll be ostracized? Think again. The restaurant was busy, which meant the kitchen had to be decent. And even if the food was bad, how bad could it possibly be? What about you? Jessica asked, turning to Zara. Zara hadn't eaten, but Asher was more important than food. She wasn't going to argue. Same as you. Jessica nodded and gave the waiter an okay sign, adding a few more dishes to their order. Once the waiter left and the private room was sealed, Jessica dropped the pretense. Crude oil bonds, she said, her voice low and serious. Scarlett bought tens of billions of dollars worth of crude oil bonds. She let that sink in. And that is the source of her confidence. A collective, silent scream ripped through the room. Chloe and Serafina were the first to lose their composure, followed swiftly by Zara. Anya, unconcerned, continued to eat her sunflower seeds, a portrait of unnerving calm. It was impossible to tell if she was genuinely confident or just putting on a show, or perhaps money was simply an alien concept to her. Raina faded back into her observer role, silently cataloging their reactions. This is fascinating, she thought. They're just as screwed as I was. Chloe felt like she was going to lose her mind. Why? How did this happen? Where did Scarlett get this information? How could she be so certain that oil futures would be a massive windfall? Serafina and Zara were wrestling with the same questions. They looked at each other, searching for an answer that wasn't there. Then, a sudden realization struck Chloe. Her mouth fell open, wide enough to fit an egg. Do you think it has something to do with Asher? The question landed like a bomb. In an instant, everything clicked into place for the others. The fog cleared. The truth, stark and undeniable, was right in front of them. Of course, as a reincarnator who had lived through this timeline before, Asher would know exactly which investments were worthless and which were jackpots. And getting information out of him? It sounded hard, but for them, it was ridiculously easy. All they had to do was listen to his thoughts. That shameless witch, Zara hissed, her knuckles white as she gripped her fork. Her eyes were practically shooting daggers. While we were busy trying to figure out how to deal with Leo Flynn, she was playing him, playing my Asher. Serafina's brow was creased in thought, her expression unreadable. Just yesterday, Chloe had been the one with the ultimate advantage, her knowledge as a fellow reincarnator. She had been playing the long game, confident that Asher would be hers eventually. And then, with a single move, Scarlett had flipped the entire board. A portfolio of bonds worth tens of billions. Given the impending crash in oil prices, the return on that investment would be astronomical. $1 trillion, maybe more. The combined personal fortunes of everyone in this room wouldn't even come close. Hell, their entire corporate assets combined might just match it. Raina watched their meltdown with a secret, grim satisfaction. Misery loves company. If she couldn't be happy, then nobody could. Welcome to her world of anxiety, ladies. Scarlett and Asher's wedding is just around the corner, Zara continued, her voice tight with fury. With this accomplishment under her belt, even if she wanted to back out, Eleanor and Lawrence would never let her. They'd tie Asher up and drag him to the altar themselves. That's the best-case scenario, where she willingly walks away. She paused, her lips curling into a sneer. But do you honestly think she'll give him up now? The room fell silent. They all knew the answer. If any of them had pulled off a move like this, they would immediately march over to the Vance estate, present their victory, and demand Asher be delivered to the honeymoon suite, post-haste. They had always considered Leo Flynn and his Dragon's Den their primary obstacle. But now the rules had changed. Their greatest enemy was one of their own. Scarlett had thrown all sportsmanship out the window. Jessica took a sip of tea to wet her throat, her gaze landing on Chloe. Chloe, I need you to subtly ask your mother how much money she loaned Scarlett for this. This is too big of a move for Eleanor not to know about it, Jessica reasoned. She might have even been the one encouraging it. The one thing I'm sure of, however, is that Eleanor has no idea what Scarlett invested in. Her analysis was sharp and logical. Chloe nodded, pulling out her phone and stepping outside to make the call. Meanwhile, Zara asked impatiently, "It's a multi-billion-dollar deal. The damage is done. What's the point of digging into the details now? Shouldn't we be focusing on how to crash her wedding? Other people might live by the mantra of never destroying a marriage. Zara's was more specific. Destroy Scarlett's marriage at all costs. If she couldn't have Asher, no one could. She'd sooner toss him into the East River and dive in after him than let any of these women win." "I know you're anxious," Jessica said calmly. "Believe me, you're not the only one. But like I said from the beginning, we need time to formulate a proper plan. Haven't you realized how much influence that woman has with his parents? She has free reign over the Vance family's resources. To put it bluntly, her authority is second only to Asher's. I need to know just how much weight she carries with Eleanor. If it's insurmountable, then even if you somehow end up with Asher, will you ever get his parents' approval? You'll go to your in-laws' house and be met with cold shoulders. Even your own parents will think you made a mistake." Jessica let out a heavy sigh. The stress of the last few days was getting to her. She had been working tirelessly on the volcanic clay beauty formula. And while the Young family business was thriving, Scarlett's one power play had launched her into the stratosphere. By the time Jessica's product line turned a profit, Scarlett and Asher's kid would probably be crawling. No wonder she was so on edge. Cassie Lee, who had been quietly observing, felt her jaw drop. So this was the real way to use Asher. Not for finding weaknesses in pretty employees, but for extracting future-proof corporate intel. Trillions of dollars. It was a number she couldn't even comprehend. The world was truly a magical, unreasonable place. She wasn't particularly interested in money itself, but she was very interested in spending it. Keeping a woman happy required a lot of shopping. After all, and even her considerable trust fund would feel the strain of a truly high-maintenance partner. Her money didn't grow on trees. A moment later, Chloe returned, her face a mask of despair. She looked like she'd just been told puppies weren't real. "Chloe, what did your mom say? How much did she lend her?" Jessica asked, leaning forward. Chloe held up 3 slender fingers, her expression grimmer than a tax audit. Over $40 billion. The words hit the room like a physical blow. Jessica's composure finally cracked. Serafina flinched. Zara went pale, looking as if she might faint. Cassie let out a low whistle. Raina's eyes were wide as she tried to count the imaginary zeros on her fingers. Only Anya remained unfazed, still munching on her sunflower seeds. Just then, a soft knock came at the door. "Come in," Chloe mumbled. A waiter entered carrying a large tray, the main dish hidden under a silver cloche. He was a new face, not the one from their last visit. He glanced nervously at the assembly of goddesses, his expression a mixture of awe and confusion, before placing the dish in the center of the table. "Enjoy your meal, ladies. The rest of your order will be out shortly." He lifted the lid with a flourish and bowed. He had assumed an order like this was for a table of boisterous men. He never would have guessed it was for a group of ethereal beauties. The contrast was staggering. An enticing aroma filled the air. But smell and taste were only part of the equation. The visual was a whole other story. Anya, Jessica, Chloe, and Serafina nodded appreciatively. Zara, Raina, and Cassie stared in horror. "What the hell is that? Are we supposed to eat this?" A dog would see this and decide to cook its own 4-course meal. In the center of the table sat a baked egg dish, but crawling through it were dozens of small, writhing, segmented worms. It was deeply, primally unsettling. "What is that?" Raina gasped, the seasoned homebody completely unnerved by the grotesque little creatures. Zara's face was frozen in a rigid mask. Was this Jessica's idea of a joke? A way to torment her? She recalled Jessica handing her the menu, a small, seemingly insignificant gesture. Now, it felt deeply suspect. "What is this abomination?" Zara hissed, her voice low and tight as goosebumps broke out on her arms. "Don't you dare tell me you're actually going to eat that." "Jessica, this isn't April Fool's Day," Raina said, her smile strained and her hands trembling uncontrollably. "Wasting food is wrong. If this is a joke, let's just order something else. This one's on me." Jessica and the others exchanged knowing glances, and "I told you so" look passing between them. To prove her point, Jessica calmly picked up her bowl and served herself a generous portion of the sago grub and egg souffle. Sago grubs, wriggly and worm-like, were enough to make anyone unfamiliar with them feel their skin crawl. It took a seasoned foodie or someone with a cast-iron stomach and a thirst for novelty to even consider taking a bite. Right in front of Zara, Raina, and Cassie, Jessica took a bite and savored it. The souffle was surprisingly delicious. Cassie had spent years abroad, but she'd never eaten insects. To be fair, she'd never been desperate enough to resort to bugs for sustenance. But back in the States, good God, did beautiful women all have such bizarre tastes now? Zara's mouth twitched. Surely Jessica was the only one crazy enough to eat this. The others couldn't possibly be in on it, right? Clinging to that hope, she turned to the others. Serafina, Chloe, you're not actually going to eat that stuff, are you? Chloe blinked her big eyes, flashing her two small, sharp canines in a playful grin. Of course we are. Why not? Zara, this stuff is amazing. To demonstrate her sincerity, Chloe eagerly dug in with her own chopsticks, followed closely by Serafina. As the two of them ate and chatted cheerfully, seeming ready for seconds, Zara, Raina, and Cassie felt their minds collectively short-circuit. Their gazes shifted to Anya, who was still working her way through a bowl of sunflower seeds. She was their last hope for sanity in this room. But Anya didn't just dash their hopes, she obliterated them. She dusted the seed husk from her hands and asked Chloe, "How are the grubs tonight?" Chloe, ever the dutiful aide-de-camp, ladled a heaping portion of the worm-infested eggs into a bowl for her boss. "They're fried first, then baked," she said with a smile. "Perfectly crispy. Here, Anya, try some." Anya accepted the massive bowl with a nod of thanks and began eating as if it were the most normal thing in the world. "Not bad," she declared after a moment. "Passable." "It's over," Zara thought. These women have completely lost their minds. "Well, there goes our united front," Raina mused. "We haven't even launched the counteroffensive against Scarlet, and our forces are already in disarray. I can't count on this bunch for anything." The angel of slaughter eating bugs I can almost accept, Cassie thought. But what is wrong with the rest of you? Before they could process the horror, there was another knock at the door. "Come in," Chloe called out, her mouth full. A waiter pushed a trolley into the room. If they thought the first dish was the peak of weirdness, they were sorely mistaken. The main course was yet to come. Zara, Raina, and Cassie were profoundly, deeply shaken. The dishes that followed were unique, a whole table laden with insects. The insect banquet was in full swing, and it was making them sick. "Come on, Raina," Chloe said with a grin. "These little guys may not be pretty, but they taste great. Give it a try." "Try it? I'll try you in a minute. Have you even thought about where these things live? Crawling around with thousands of their friends, burrowing through who knows what. Do you people not have brains?" Raina forced a smile, her eye twitching. I'm not hungry." Zara wisely grabbed the retreating waiter. "Excuse me, could you bring us a menu?" The waiter nodded with a look of profound understanding. "Lady, your friends are absolute savages. Not just tough, they're goddamn werewolves." Even the most hardcore foodies didn't go this hard. And so, the dinner party split into two factions, the bug eaters and the same people. Chloe tried to tempt the other three, but they held firm. Finally, she gave up. Fine, more for them. The scene became surreal. A table of the city's most beautiful women, casually dining on insects while plotting a corporate and romantic coup. They couldn't confront Asher directly. His parents were a dead end. Scarlet held all the cards, sitting comfortably while her investment matured. The sheer amount of money involved was enough to blind even the wealthiest of patriarchs. Their own parents would have had them gift-wrapped and delivered by now. Is there really no other way? Zara asked, her brow furrowed. Jessica, expertly cracking open the shell of a water beetle, popped it in her mouth. There's always another way, she said, crunching down. An unconventional one. Our main objective is to stop Scarlet from winning. Whatever it takes. Easy for you to say, Zara shot back. What's the plan? Jessica swallowed the beetle. We find a way to make Asher go back to being Serafina's simp. I object. Zara immediately shot down the idea. Jessica gave her a sideways glance, her own voice tinged with reluctance. You think I like it? But how else are we going to buy ourselves more time? Buy time? Zara scoffed. You can delay it for a day, but you can't delay it forever. A day is all I need, Jessica thought. Enough time to tie him up and make sure the deal is sealed. This is a losing battle, so we have to play dirty. Aloud, she smiled coolly. Do you have a better idea? Feel free to share it. This is just my suggestion. If you don't agree, we could just sit back and watch her win. Zara fell silent. The person in question, Serafina, felt her icy composure crack for a fraction of a second. Asher, her simp again? What was happening? Here we go again. Outwardly, she was a statue. Inwardly, she was doing cartwheels. This time, she thought, I have to act fast. Use my advantage. Lure the puppy home and slaughter him. Just like that night at the bar. But this time, she'd play for keeps. She would make him stay the night. In her room, Chloe's head was spinning. The absolute last thing she wanted was to go on the run with Asher, living as fugitives in some foreign country. That game was not fun. If Asher didn't cooperate, their chances of getting caught were huge. She didn't get reincarnated just to fail this spectacularly. Each woman was lost in her own thoughts. Other plans were proposed, but they lacked conviction and feasibility. They needed a strategy that kept Scarlett in the dark while forcing Asher to act, to postpone the wedding. From what they knew of him, he'd likely go along with his parents' wishes with some half-hearted resistance. And none of them could stomach the thought of him being another woman's groom. The meal ended without any brilliant new solutions. They kept circling back to Jessica's original, desperate gambit. It was the only one that seemed remotely viable. Jessica sighed, her private thoughts grim. It's up to me to get this done. I can't rely on these women. I'm creating a new group chat, she announced. If you think of a viable plan, post it there. We'll workshop it. If nothing better comes up, we're moving forward with making Asher fall for Serafina again. The next day, in the CEO's office at Vance Corporation, Asher was back to his regularly scheduled life. With no scenes to film, he returned to his day job. Mr. Vance, it's been a while, his secretary, Jasmine Jiang, said brightly. I heard you were filming a movie with Lena and she was dressed for success or seduction, in a crisp white blouse, a dangerously tight black pencil skirt, and sheer black stockings. The top 2 buttons of her shirt were undone, offering a tantalizing glimpse of her cleavage. That's right, Asher said with an easy smile. Jasmine's eyes lit up. She leaned closer, her voice full of breathless disbelief. Really? You were actually on a movie set? Asher's lips curved into the devastatingly charming smile his system had branded him for. What, you don't believe me? He teased. Any opportunity to screw with the protagonist's life was an opportunity worth taking. I do. Of course I do, Jasmine said, rushing behind his chair to knead his shoulders. When does the movie come out? I'll take all my friends to see it. Her massage skills were exceptional, and she had a natural, pleasant scent that was almost intoxicating. I'm not sure about the exact date, Asher said, melting under her touch. Within 2 months, I think. Maybe 1 if they rush it. Little Jasmine, you must have so many questions, he thought. A movie that wraps in a month? It was destined to be a glorious train wreck. If all went according to plan, Lena was about to win herself a Razzie. Not that it was entirely her fault. Just having Asher on set was a miracle. Who needed acting or dialogue? He could just stand there and let his face compensate for any lack of talent. That's what Jasmine was thinking, anyway. That's so fast. The sooner the better. I can't wait to see you on the big screen, Mr. Vance. On the couch across the room, Anya sat quietly, cracking sunflower seeds and serving as a beautiful, silent backdrop. A tranquil dragon queen had a strange, compelling allure. Asher wished she could stay like this forever. Was it too much to ask for a well-behaved, non-demanding warlord? Beezy's his phone vibrated on the desk. He glanced at the caller ID. His eyes widened slightly, a wave of confusion washing over him. Her? Why is she calling me? He instantly regretted not blocking Serafina Hayes' number. If he hadn't seen the call, he could have feigned ignorance. But now he'd seen it, and he couldn't unsee it. Jasmine paused her massage. Mr. Vance, I'll go. No, it's fine, he said, waving a hand. Just find a seat and relax for a minute. Jasmine nodded and did as she was told. Asher took a deep breath. The familiar ringtone of the stupid woman. This couldn't be good. He swiped to answer. Hello. What is it? He asked, trying to keep his voice neutral. There was a moment of silence on the other end before Serafina's voice came through, cool and direct. Asher, when you said you liked me, was it all a lie? A preemptive strike? A masterclass in seizing the initiative? The Anti-Scarlet Task Force, led by Jessica Young, had spent an entire night and morning brainstorming without a single good idea. So they had fallen back on the last-ditch, insane plan, Operation Simp. This was their best shot, a strategy hammered out between all of them and Serafina. The opening salvo was designed to shut him down completely, to leave him with no room to maneuver. And it worked. This is absurd, Asher thought, a silent scream echoing in his mind. Why does all the bad luck happen to me? The question stunned him. He never, in a million years, expected to hear those words come out of Serafina Hayes' mouth. A faint blush crept up his neck. He cleared his throat, summoning every ounce of his acting talent to portray a lovesick simp, wounded by unrequited love. Of course not, he declared, his voice thick with emotion. My love for you is like a boundless river, ever flowing. He made sure to emphasize the past tense, a verbal shield against her sudden offensive. Once I loved you enough to sacrifice everything, my pride, my dignity. I ignored my parents, my friends, all for you. I tried so hard to win your heart, to build a home with you. He paused for dramatic effect. But then I realized it was all for nothing. You wouldn't even give me the time of day. I got tired. I'm just so tired. The art of language was all in the delivery. He projected the image of a broken man, a heart so shattered it could never love again. He was the loyal simp, who had simped his last simp, left with nothing. He was a master thespian. His internal monologue, however, was throwing a party. Onaji. Atomaku aksanshiru konfurexu atomaku. No. Jasmine, sitting on the sidelines, heard his every word. Her girlish heart clenched in sympathy. Huh. Serve her right. She fumed internally. Mr. Vance is the perfect man. He doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, works hard. He doesn't waste time with degenerate friends. A man like that threw away his pride to chase you. And you got arrogant? Did you save the galaxy in a past life or something? You slapped him and you expect him to come back for more? Dream on. She was completely on his side. His performance was just that good. Even Anya, hearing Asher's heartfelt confession, paused with a sunflower seed halfway to her lips, her hand trembling slightly. Thankfully, she couldn't hear his inner thoughts, which were a chaotic whirlwind of triumphant glee. If Jasmine could hear them, she would realize her perfect Mr. Vance had cornered the market on crocodile tears. Meanwhile, at Hayes Corporation, Serafina held the phone, her face a mask of cold fury. Asher was the same as always. His words were deep, moving, and so convincing she almost believed them. That damn bastard. He's just as infuriating as ever, she thought, taking deep breaths to calm her racing heart. His mouth is a fountain of lies. This wasn't the time to get angry. The goal was to get him here. Lure him out. That was all that mattered. Without that, her plan to trap the dog and put him down was dead on arrival. That's a cold joke, she said, her voice dripping with ice. You talk about how much you used to like me. Aren't you ashamed of your own lies? Oh, Asher panicked. What's going on? Can this stupid woman hear my thoughts now? This is getting way too weird. Before he could spiral further, Serafina's voice cut through his thoughts again. You think I can hear your thoughts? Don't flatter yourself. It's the little things. The details. I can tell your heart wasn't in it. If you truly liked me, you wouldn't have made so many basic mistakes. Details? What details? I'm a blunt instrument, not a surgeon. The word detail isn't even in my vocabulary. Besides, you're right about one thing. I really don't like you. Asher steadied himself. This was no time for a breakdown. His sim persona was a critical part of his defense. He couldn't let her dismantle it now. Not after all this time. Ahem. I've said what I needed to say. I loved you. You hurt me, and I don't want to get hurt again. He sensed trouble brewing and knew he had to end the call. Find an excuse, hang up, and run. Don't even think about hanging up on me, she said, her tone sharp. If you do, I'll leak the story of how you fake your pursuit of me. I'll let the whole world see how fraudulent you really are. How could Serafina hear his thoughts from miles away? She couldn't. She didn't have supersonic hearing. But after knowing Asher for so long, she had cataloged 1,000 of his inner monologues. She knew his patterns, his reactions. She could predict his every move with terrifying accuracy. She had him pinned. Despite her bold words, her heart was hammering against her ribs. She was afraid he'd see through her bluff, but she was even more afraid that the world's weird narrative laws would literally stop her from saying these things. Luckily, she hadn't triggered any cosmic censorship. Asher was probably too panicked to suspect anything. At that moment, Asher was freaking out. He didn't have time to wonder how the dumb female lead had suddenly developed a genius-level intellect. Thinking about it was pointless. The plot of this world had already gone completely off the rails. The heroines were all certifiably insane now, so anything was possible. The priority was to placate her. Serafina, you make it sound like I was some kind of player, he said, wiping a bead of sweat from his forehead. I mean, I barely even... Ahem. Held your hand. I was always respectful, right? Jasmine tilted her head. Why did her boss's tone suddenly sound so familiar? So skittish? Anya stopped chewing her seeds, a slight frown on her face. But Serafina wasn't finished. She wasn't going to let him off the hook. Come over here, she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper. I'll let you touch me. Hiss. Asher sucked in a breath. That direct? Is this appropriate? What the? He swallowed hard. Serafina, I prefer it when you call me Sarah. Her tone softened, becoming almost gentle. The gentler she became, the more terrified he was. This is a trap. A goddamn honey trap. Invite the simp over, then execute him. Damn it, where did you learn these moves? You've been corrupted. So, we're over. I expect to see you in my office in 30 minutes. If you're not here, I'll have someone write up your whole story and publish it online. I'll let everyone know you're not the saint you pretend to be, she said, her voice turning steely again. And I'll let them know that I wasn't entirely unmoved. Click. She hung up, leaving Asher staring at his phone with a dumbfounded expression. Are you kidding me? This was beyond ridiculous. This was so absurd, it was giving absurdity a midlife crisis. He couldn't follow the plot. He couldn't complete the missions. Go home. Yeah, right. In his dreams. Asher rubbed his nose and sighed. So that's it. My performance wasn't convincing enough. The stupid woman saw right through me. Whose fault was that? Only his own. He stood up, and Anya immediately rose from the couch as well. Anya, you and Jasmine stay here. I have to go out for a bit. Anya simply shook her head. Why are you so damn clingy? Asher was already irritated with his own mistakes. His patience was thin. He hardened his expression, his voice taking on a sharper edge. Stay. This time, Anya nodded and sat back down her sunflower seeds. Asher left the office. He had to deal with this woman, once and for all. Play the simp again? Not a chance. He was going over there to draw a line in the sand. To sever all ties, cleanly and permanently. He would delete her number and block her right in front of her face. In short, Asher was going to start a fire, and he was going to enjoy it. He had barely been gone for 2 minutes when Scarlett Jo swept into the office. She scanned the room, not seeing Asher. She arched an eyebrow at Jasmine and Anya. Jasmine, where is he? Jasmine forced a smile. I'm sorry, Ms. Jo, I don't know. Her loyalty was to Asher, first and foremost. If he wanted his location known, he'd say so himself. A mere secretary couldn't make that call. You don't know? Scarlett's gaze was sharp, suspicious. Jasmine felt a pang of guilt. Mr. Vance, I can't betray you. Oh. Scarlett turned her attention to the woman on the couch, Anya. Anya paused, a seed halfway to her lips, and met Scarlett's gaze. An entire war was waged in that silent stare-down. Jasmine swore she could see sparks flying as invisible blades clashed between them. It was terrifying. In those few seconds, Jasmine's conscience waged its own brutal battle. And in the end, she made a decision that went against Asher's implicit wishes. The thought of him running off to Serafina was infuriating. Better to let Scarlett retrieve him. Between the two, Jasmine much preferred Scarlett. Actually, Ms. Jo, Jasmine said suddenly, her voice bright and a little too loud. I just remembered where Mr. Vance went. It was just a fleeting memory, the kind that disappears if you don't grab it. Her meaning was crystal clear. If Asher asked later, she would deny everything. Scarlett's red-painted lips parted. Speak. Inside Serafina Hayes' office, a faint blush colored her cheeks as she stood in front of a full-length mirror, adjusting her clothes, checking her makeup, looking for any flaw. Serafina, this is your only chance, she whispered to her reflection. Don't screw this up. Do you want your parents deciding your future, or are you going to fight for it yourself? Take back what's yours. If you miss this opportunity, there won't be another one. Slap. Slap. She gently patted her own cheeks, forcing herself to focus. She had to be at her absolute best when Asher walked through that door. A flamboyant, acid-green Lamborghini screeched to a halt in front of the Hayes Corporation Tower. A man so handsome it was almost offensive stepped out. Sir, you can't park here, a security guard said, striding forward. He stopped mid-sentence when he got a clear look at the man's face. Can't what? Asher asked, genuinely not hearing him. Mr. Vance. It's nothing, sir. That rule doesn't apply to you, the guard said earnestly. Parking regulations depended entirely on who you were. Anyone else would be towed. Asher Vance got a pass. Asher scratched his head, realizing what the guard had been about to say. He knew the guy was just doing his job. He tossed the key fob to him. Ahem. I'm in a hurry to see Ms. Hayes. Could you move it for me? Security at a major corporation had to be multi-talented. Valet parking was part of the unofficial job description. Sir, this car is. It's too expensive. If you scratch it, I'll pay for it. Asher called back over his shoulder without breaking stride. He meant it. He was the idiot son of a billionaire family. Money was dirt to him. If he didn't spend it, the protagonist would just end up with it anyway. The guard stared at the key fob in his hand, which suddenly felt like a hot coal. Asher could say that, but the guard didn't dare test the theory. Stepping into the Hayes Corporation lobby felt wrong. If he had a choice, Asher would never set foot in this building again. But what could he do? He was already here. Oh my God, isn't that Mr. Vance? I thought he and Ms. Hayes had a falling out. He's such a perfect man. If it were me, I would have said yes in a heartbeat. Wake up. A man that handsome and that rich is not in the cards for you. Is he here to see Ms. Hayes? Did they make up? Holy crap. Does he look even more handsome than before? Hello. We're not blind. What do you think? Whispers followed him everywhere he went. For the first time, Asher thought that being too good-looking was a genuine burden. He could have made a living with his face, but he just had to rely on his dad. Ugh, so depressing. In a lavish corner office, Harrison Hayes was nursing a sore back. His wife had been on the warpath, simultaneously lecturing their daughter and pressuring him to go to Asher and announce that the Hayes family approved of their marriage. Harrison couldn't bring himself to do it. The humiliation was too great. He'd shamelessly fleeced the Vance family for years, banking on his daughter's beauty to seal the deal. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the alliance. But what could he do if his own daughter refused? He couldn't exactly hold a knife to her throat. Find a way, find a way. What way am I supposed to find? He grumbled to himself. I told you two not to play with fire. Now he's gone, and he's not coming back. Are you happy now, you two? What good would it do if I got involved? He rubbed his lower back. It looked like he wouldn't be going home tonight. He'd have to find a hotel. Knock, knock, knock. Come in. A female secretary entered the room. What is it? Harrison asked, quickly putting his hands behind his back. He couldn't lose face. Mr. Hayes, you instructed me to report to you immediately if Mr. Vance ever came to visit, no matter what I was doing, the secretary Gray said. Mr. Vance? Which Mr. Vance? There were too many Vances to keep track of. Grace tilted her head. Mr. Asher Vance, sir. Thump. Harrison shot to his feet. What Mr. Vance? This was his son-in-law, paying a visit. Hot damn, he thought. He's really here. Is he here to see Serafina? He asked, his voice trembling with excitement. Grace gave a wry smile. I don't know about that, sir. I'm just a secretary. But he did seem to be heading in the direction of Ms. Hayes' office. Slam. Harrison slapped his hands together. It was a done deal. Good, good, good. Asher wasn't here to see him. He was here for his daughter. That clever boy, playing hard to get. Harrison didn't care about tactics. In the face of absolute victory, everything else was just noise. The best-case scenario was that Asher would knock his daughter up. Even if Asher tried to back out later, wouldn't matter. Once a grandchild was in the picture, he was sure Lawrence and Eleanor Vance wouldn't be able to turn a blind eye. They were reasonable people, after all. Get security down here immediately, Harrison ordered. No one is to go near my daughter's office until Asher comes out. Not even a fly gets in. Yes, sir, Grace replied. As she left, a huge, triumphant grin spread across Harrison's face. Hiv. Sweetheart, this is all your dad can do for you, he chuckled. The rest is up to you. He knew his daughter better than anyone. In the days since Asher had stopped calling, Serafina had been listless, distracted, staring off into space even during family dinners. It had never happened before. It was the classic Hayes family trait. The one you can't have is the one you want the most. Meanwhile, in Serafina's office. You're here, Serafina said, a faint blush still on her cheeks. Should I leave? Asher tested. What is this stupid woman up to now? Shouldn't you be happy that the simp is gone? Serafina stared at him, slightly dazed. How had she never noticed before how handsome he was? How much charisma he had? Was it her imagination? Or was it the irreversible law of X's, where the ugly duckling transforms into a beautiful swan the moment they're gone? Would you like some tea? I don't want anything. Okay, then have some. Ahem. Serafina, this is pointless. It's really, really pointless. Asher forced himself to look calm, but inside, he was about to cry. This stupid woman was completely unhinged. What did she want from him? Serafina carefully began to prepare the tea. The more unnaturally calm she acted, the more Asher panicked. He was trapped in a novel where the female lead's character development had gone completely off the rails. What was he supposed to do? He was desperate for an answer. On the surface, he was cool as a cucumber. Inside, he was a panic mess. And as she heard his familiar, frantic inner monologue, Serafina felt a small, strange thrill of pleasure. She wasn't sure, but she might have just awakened a new, very specific interest. The tea isn't poisoned, Serafina said, taking a delicate sip in front of him. You know that's not what I meant. Seeing her drink it, Asher relaxed and took a sip himself. Serafina shot him a look. Did he have a persecution complex? Whatever. It didn't matter anymore. He could cook, he wasn't completely repulsive to look at, and most importantly, he wasn't a degenerate partier. All that nonsense from before was just an act. With all those qualities combined, why would she ever need to look for anyone else? After a moment of silence, Asher set down his cup. My reason for being here is simple. I want to clear the air about the past and make a clean break. You never said yes when I was pursuing you. A no is a no. So you're saying we don't owe each other anything. Serafina looked up suddenly. She wasn't going to pretend she hadn't heard him call her a stupid woman 1,000 times in his head. Asher nodded. Yes, that's right. Correct. He quickly amended. Was she going to argue? Make a scene? No, Serafina wasn't that pathetic. She had already planned her next move before she even called him. Fine. It's time we said goodbye to the past, she said, evenly. It's been a while since I had your noodles. Could you come to my place tonight and make them for me one last time? Her tone was calm, but her heart was pounding. This was her limit. The words felt mortifying. She swore she would never say anything so shameless again in her life. Asher froze. Whoa, is this really happening? I'll give her this. The stupid woman keeps her promises. And I have to admit, that's a pretty tempting offer. But why should I play by your rules? Ping. Congratulations, host. You have gained +1 stamina. Asher cleared his throat and said firmly, Sorry, you'll have to ask someone else. Heh, didn't see that coming, did you? There's no way I'm falling for that plot-induced stupidity. The times have changed, old man. Serafina's body went rigid. She hadn't expected him to say no. What was she supposed to do now? Her mind raced, searching for a new strategy. Outside, Scarlett Joe and Anya Kuznetsov had arrived at Hayes Corporation, only to be blocked by a line of security guards. What's the meaning of this? Scarlett asked, raising an eyebrow. Everyone who worked here knew who she was. You didn't have to have eaten pork to know what a pig looked like. The head of security, Jackson, knew he was dealing with a force of nature. He had already sent someone to inform Mr. Hayes. All he could do now was stall. Ms. Joe, I'm very sorry, but Ms. Hayes is in a meeting with a very important client. She can't be disturbed. An important client? You mean Asher, don't you? Scarlett said with a cool, confident smile. These women just wouldn't give up, but she wasn't really bothered. In a way, it was a compliment. If Asher didn't have this much appeal, women with egos as big as theirs would never debase themselves to win him. It just proved she had excellent taste. Jackson's face was a mask of strained politeness. I wouldn't know anything about that, ma'am. As long as he played dumb and stuck to his story, what could she do? She couldn't possibly break through a human wall formed by several large men. Could she? So he is here, Scarlett said, as if it were a fact. She then glanced at Anya. Anya, they don't want to let us through to see Asher. What should we do? She used Asher's name for her. It rolled off the tongue nicely, and Anya didn't seem to mind. Anya simply nodded. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but this area is restrict. ARGH. Before Jackson could finish his sentence, Anya had him on the ground with a single, fluid motion. It happened in a flash. The other guards froze for a second, then lunged. These were clearly top-tier bodyguards, well-trained and dangerous. The sight of their captain writhing on the floor was proof enough. They couldn't afford to hold back. A few more grunts and thuds echoed through the hallway. Scarlett took a step back to avoid the collateral damage. This Anya is much more useful than the other heroines, Scarlett mused. I don't need money, but my little wolf could use a personal bodyguard. And her heart belongs completely to him, which is a bonus. It's so much easier when they're on your side. She started to consider whether she should grant Anya the honor of being the second to eat the crab. It was going to happen soon anyway. After that, if any of the other women wanted a piece, they'd have to ask for permission. That was the power of being the official wife. What's going on here? What happened? A middle-aged man came running toward them. The scene was a disaster. The Hayes family's elite security team was scattered on the floor like bowling pins, clutching their stomachs, chests, and backsides. It was a pathetic sight. What is the meaning of this? Harrison Hayes demanded, forcing himself to sound authoritative. These were his best men, and they'd been taken down like amateurs. Calling for more would be pointless. It was time to negotiate. Mr. Hayes, you're just in time, Scarlett said with a pleasant smile, gesturing to the carnage. I came to find my husband. Your men told me they hadn't seen him, but I was worried he might be in trouble. In my haste, this happened. The message was clear. If you try to stop me again, this will be you. Hiss. Harrison sucked in a sharp breath. Ahem. Asher isn't here, my dear. Ms. Joe. I remember holding you in my arms when you were just a little girl. He was playing dirty, pulling the sentimentality card. Your family can't handle him. Let my daughter have a turn. Scarlett's smile didn't waver. Mr. Hayes, Anya doesn't know her own strength. We're just looking for someone. It would be a shame if an old man like you were to fall and break a bone. You'd be in the hospital for a very long time. It sounded like concern, but it was a stone-cold threat. Harrison felt a chill run down his spine. He held out for less than half a second before conceding. That girl Anya looked harmless, but who knew what she was capable of? He had just seen her kick a man so hard he heard a bone snap. He wasn't about to test his luck against that. As Scarlett and Anya walked past him, Harrison Hayes shot them a look of pure, unadulterated resentment. They had thrown all sportsmanship out the window. Daughter, I've done all I can, he muttered to himself, trying to salvage his pride. It's not that I'm a coward. It's that her bodyguard is a monster. And you wouldn't want to see your old dad in the hospital, would you? Money was important, but life was more important. Back in the office, Serafina had tried everything. Asher was immune to both threats and seduction. Nothing worked. Defeated, she gave up, and the two of them sat there, staring at each other in a deeply awkward silence. The standoff was broken by a knock at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Asher, I'm here to pick you up, a melodious female voice called from the other side. The sound was like a choir of angels to Asher. He blinked, a dumbfounded look on his face, before a wave of pure elation washed over him. Holy crap, the she-devil is here. Perfect timing. Time to go home. Escape. Freedom. He raised a hand to his mouth and coughed twice to cover his awkwardness, which only made the atmosphere more awkward. Ms. Hayes, let's leave it at that for today. I have to go. Serafina just scoffed coldly. Ms. Hayes? Before it was always Sarah. Even if it was an act, it was at least familiar. Now that he had a new favorite, he couldn't even be bothered to pretend anymore. Asher ignored her dazed expression and walked to the door, pulling it open. He froze. It wasn't just the she-devil. The Dragon Queen was here too. He and Scarlet locked eyes. After the recent candy incident, they were like an old married couple. A little public affection was nothing. Unfazed, Asher asked, "What are you two doing here? And how did you know I was here?" "How could I not come?" she said, her tone light and teasing. "I was worried you'd be kidnapped by your ex. I'd have nowhere to cry." "My ex? What the hell? You're laying it on thick, she-devil." The stupid woman had never even agreed to date him. Asher knew Scarlet loved to joke, so he played along. "No, I pursued Ms. Hayes, but she never said yes. She's not my ex." He couldn't let her ruin Serafina's reputation. Even if the stupid woman didn't care, he had a reputation to maintain. He couldn't have that black mark on his record. The two of them bantered back and forth, completely ignoring Serafina, whose brow was furrowed in a deep, angry line. Were they treating her like she was invisible? Scarlet covered her mouth with a delicate hand, feigning surprise. "Oh, is that so? I thought you two were a thing." No, you're mistaken." "Well, you should just say yes to her," Scarlet said breezily. "Like I told you, after we get married, you can have as many women as you want. I won't mind at all." Hiss. Asher sucked in a breath. Was she serious? Scarlet had said that before, but that wasn't his goal. He was surrounded by honey traps, temptations designed to corrupt his will and sap his energy. He had to resist. Serafina's icy expression finally shattered. Her mouth twitched. Were these two in cahoots? Were they here just to torment her? Out of sight, out of mind. The arrival of Scarlet and Anya had completely derailed her plan. There was no point in continuing. She just had to get them out. Before Serafina could say anything, Anya moved, walking directly toward Asher. Seeing this, both Scarlet and Serafina were confused. Asher's smile vanished. "Oh crap, it's over. I didn't film today, so I didn't give her the midday portion. I'm so dead." He took a half step back, a truly terrified reflex. Ahem. Anya, wait, not now, maybe later, MMPH. But it was too late. Anya lunged, pressing her lips against his. The Stoa Dragon Queen cared nothing for time or place. The word shame didn't exist in her vocabulary. Asher struggled, but it was no use. Who said women were the weaker sex? The Dragon Queen was stronger than him. His Iron Mantle skill didn't come with a strength buff. If life gives you lemons, just close your eyes and enjoy it. Enjoy it? Hell no. Asher was on the verge of tears. Note to self. Pay in advance. No more delays. Scarlet's expression flickered, but she didn't intervene. As for Serafina, she swallowed hard. She watched for a moment, and when she realized Anya had no intention of stopping, a strange mix of jealousy and satisfaction washed over her. "Huh. Now you know how it feels," she thought, shooting a glance at Scarlet. "How does it feel, Scarlet, to watch another woman kiss him right in front of you?" She wanted to see if the woman was as honest as she claimed to be, or if she was all talk. To her disappointment, Scarlet just smiled, a beautiful, amused curve to her lips. Serafina was baffled. "Wow, you're really taking this well. You can still smile at a time like this." The wind had changed. The sky had cleared. Serafina felt like she was back in the game. After what felt like an eternity, it was finally over. Asher could breathe again. He finally understood why the Dragon Queen had come. She was a goddamn monster. "Feeling better, darling?" Scarlet purred. "Much better," Asher replied reflexively. Of course he was better. He could breathe. "Good. Now it's my turn." "Huh?" Asher's face went blank. What was he, a practice dummy? That's right. His lips were captured again. It was infuriating. Anya stepped aside, wiping her mouth like a cat who had just finished a bowl of cream. Serafina felt that if she had sinned, God should have just struck her down. This slow, torturous punishment was far worse. Long after they were gone, Serafina stood alone in her office, her eyes like chips of ice. It wasn't just that they'd left. They made a point of rubbing their victory in her face. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Did they think she was a doormat? Scarlet Joe, she seethed. You started this. Don't blame me for what comes next. Knock, knock, knock. Sweetheart. Honey, come in. Serafina tried to compose herself as her father entered. Dad, what is it? Honey, I'm sorry. I couldn't buy you more time, Harrison Hayes said, his face flushed with embarrassment. Serafina immediately stood up. Dad, what are you talking about? A father knows his daughter. And Harrison Hayes knew exactly what was on Serafina's mind. He remembered his own youth, pursued by women from dozens of families. He'd missed out on a few good ones, a lesson learned too late. He couldn't let his daughter make the same mistake. Sweetheart, Rome wasn't built in a day. He began, launching into full-on romance guru mode. That Asher boy chased you for so long. Now that he's stopped, he's probably just sulking, playing hard to get. And even if he's not, he liked you once. There's still a spark there. My point is, it's time for us to swallow our pride. He pursued you for ages. It's our turn to make a move. Harrison paced the office, delivering an impassioned lecture on love and strategy, drawing on his own vast life experience to dissect Asher's psyche and prescribe the perfect antidote for his daughter. He was so moved by his own wisdom, he nearly brought himself to tears. If he were a woman of Serafina's age, he thought, he could have any man he wanted. With a few clever tricks from Sun Tzu's Art of War, the world would be his oyster. Serafina was speechless. Her father was so full of it. She could literally hear Asher's thoughts. Dad, you're so wrong. That bastard has been playing us all from the start. He never liked me. Not once. If you could hear what goes on in his head, you want to kill him. She sighed, a wave of exhaustion washing over her. Dad, that's enough. Please just go. I want to be alone. Harrison was just getting warmed up. But sweetheart, my methods are foolproof. Just try them. I guarantee they'll work. Dad. Serafina's voice was sharp. Harrison sighed in defeat. Young people and their pride. All right. I'll leave you to it. After he left, Serafina leaned back in her chair and stared at the ceiling, lost in thought. Meanwhile, at the Gao family estate, Kevin Gao's arm was still in a sling, but that didn't stop him from gaming with one hand. He was deep in a firefight when a housekeeper, Brenda, knocked on his door. Young master, you have a visitor. Dude, no, don't kill me. Don't finish me. You can have my loot. No, don't, I'm dead. As Kevin screamed in frustration, his character on the screen went limp. Game over. Damn it. I'm not seeing anyone. Tell them to go away. He yelled at the door. Suddenly, another female voice, sharp and dangerously familiar, cut through from the hallway. You little brat. You're looking for a death wish, aren't you? Get out here before I smash your goddamn head in. Kevin froze. He knew that voice. Miss, I told you, he will be right down if you would just wait in the living room. Shut up. Tell that little punk Kevin Gao to get his ass out here now. Security. Why aren't you stopping her? The commotion outside grew louder. That tone, that specific insult. There was only one person who called him that. A shiver ran down Kevin's spine. His high-tech defenses were useless against her. If she wanted to, she could probably hack his entire system and turn his own weapons against him. The psycho is back, he thought, his body trembling. He scrambled to the door on his short legs and threw it open. Standing there was a woman in a face mask and large sunglasses, wrapped up so tightly she could have been a celebrity avoiding the paparazzi. Several security guards were closing in on her. Kevin's blood ran cold. Stop! Everyone stop, he yelled. The guards froze. Kevin let out a sigh of relief. That was close. The woman planted her hands on her hips. Well, you've gotten brave, haven't you, little brat? Set of your goons on me. She patted her chest dramatically. You nearly gave me a heart attack. Kevin's face crumpled. No, that's not it. I didn't. You can't frame an innocent person. The guards and the housekeeper exchanged confused glances. This was an acquaintance of the young master. They quickly dispersed. Hey, the woman said, pointing at Brenda, go get me a cold soda, some chili limon chips, and a bag of pickled chicken feet. If they're not in the fridge, go buy them. Brenda and the guards nearly tripped over themselves. Who was this woman? Did she think she owned the place? Seeing their hesitation, Kevin clenched his jaw. Just do what she says. Get her whatever she wants. Fulfill every single one of her demands. They might not listen to the strange woman, but they had to obey Kevin. Once they were gone, the woman looked him up and down. My, you've learned some manners, little brat. You've grown up a bit these last few years. She finally noticed his arm. What happened to your hand? You just seeing that now, sis? Kevin asked, exasperated. His sister was a genius-level monster, but she was also hopelessly oblivious. Raina Gao scoffed. What do you mean just now? I'm not blind. Kevin felt a vessel in his forehead throb. Why me? Why is she my sister? Just kill me now. Let's talk inside, Raina said, finally taking off her sunglasses and mask as she stepped into his room. Raina Gao kicked her feet up on his desk, taking a long swig of her ice-cold soda. So for real, what happened to your arm? It was destroyed by a woman even more terrifying than you. Kevin thought miserably, but saying that out loud would only get him mocked, so he stayed silent. I should be asking you what's up, he retorted. You come back in disguise like you're afraid someone's going to recognize you. I am. I'm very afraid, Raina admitted without a hint of shame. Kevin's eye twitched. After a moment, he sighed, understanding dawning. You're not just here to see me, are you? You need money. Just name a price. I'll wire it to you. Raina never showed up without a reason, and the only reason she ever needed him was for cash. Her eyes lit up for a second, but then she seemed to remember something and scowled. Do I look like someone who's motivated by money, you little brat? How shallow. Unbelievably shallow. If you ever try to challenge my moral bottom line with money again, I will personally dismantle you. Kevin's jaw dropped. My dear sister, do you even have a moral bottom line? Have you forgotten all the times you scammed me? Yes, you're absolutely right, sis, he said, nodding vigorously. There was no point arguing logic with a woman, especially not this one. If she said cows could fly, you just had to agree with her. Raina knew he was just humoring her, but she let it slide. The pleasantries were over. She took another gulp of soda. I hear you've joined an organization called the Dragon's Den. Huh? Kevin was floored. How the hell did she know that? Sis, how did you find out? He asked, bewildered. That was supposed to be a secret. Not even their father knew. Let me finish. Okay, my bad. The leader of this Dragon's Den is named Leo Flynn, correct? Yeah, that's right. And you're his little lackey, aren't you? Right, wait, no. No way. When have I ever willingly worked for someone else? You know me better than that, sis. Kevin protested. Raina gnawed on a pickled chicken foot, her words muffled. Are you sure about that? Kevin's face was a mask of sincerity. Yes. Would I lie to you? He leaned forward, his curiosity overwhelming him. Seriously, where are you getting this intel? Raina rolled her eyes. I work in intelligence. How do you think I know? Kevin was starting to question reality. But that was just the appetizer. The main course of his existential crisis was yet to come. Leo Flynn got played by some hacker named Red Rose. Raina continued casually. He got pissed and hired you to get revenge. You severely overestimated your own abilities, underestimated your opponent, and she ended up getting your home address. Kevin's jaw hit the floor. She was right. Dead right. It had been 3 years, and his sister had leveled up. Not even a psychic could be this accurate. He suddenly gritted his teeth. Damn it. It's this underdeveloped body holding me back. If I was a full-grown adult, that Red Rose would be toast. She only won because she had more stamina. Sis, you came back at the perfect time. Help me find that Red Rose's address. I'm going to destroy her. Smack. A sharp slap to the back of his head cut him off. Ow. What was that for, sis? He cried, rubbing the sore spot. Raina looked at him, a half-smile playing on her lips. I'll give you one more chance. Who was it you want to destroy? Red Rose. He stammered, thinking she hadn't heard him. But then he met her murderous gaze and saw her hand raised, ready for another strike. Even if he were an idiot, he would have understood. And he wasn't an idiot. You're Red Rose? Raina shrugged, chugging the rest of her soda and letting out a loud burp. The one and only. It all made sense. Kevin collapsed into his chair, utterly defeated. His loss wasn't just understandable. It was inevitable. That idiot Dragon King. What was he thinking, hiring him to go up against his own sister? It was like using a dragon-slaying sword to kill a chicken. So, Raina said, eyeing him, still want to get your revenge? A pained, terrified smile stretched across Kevin's face. Nope, no revenge here. It's all that idiot Leo Flynn's fault. I had no idea Red Rose was useless. This is all just a huge misunderstanding. Raina opened another bag of chicken feet. What did he give you? Kevin's composure finally broke. He rubbed his thumb and index finger together. Not much, just some useless rock. Raina narrowed her eyes. The little brat was a terrible liar. Would he really have taken the job for a useless rock? Whatever. A scam was a scam. She'd read enough web novels to know the tropes. No wonder Leo Flynn was such a cheapskate. He was a protagonist. And what did protagonists do? They got the best deals, put in the least effort for the biggest reward, and had all the beautiful women in the world fawning over them. Tui. Raina stroked her chin, a plan forming in her mind. Then she said something that shattered Kevin's brain. Hey, little bro, I want you to turn me in. Complete your mission. Get your reward. Kevin went numb. What? 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 As smart as he was, he could never keep up with his crazy sister's logic. I mean, I really want the reward, but this feels wrong, doesn't it? Kevin Gao said, fidgeting. Sell out his own sister? Trade Reina for a payday? Impossible. Absolutely not. Forget everything else. If his father found out, he'd break both of his legs. And even setting that aside, Kevin would never sell out Reina, Red Rose, to a guy like Leo Flynn. At the end of the day, he and Leo weren't that close. What's wrong about it? Reina shot back, acting as if she wasn't the person in question. The woman was outrageously nonchalant. Kevin's mouth twitched. He adopted an expression that screamed, "You can kill me, but I'll never betray you." He would die on this hill. Reina saw right through his hesitation. "You little brat, and you say you're not dumb? Looks like you haven't gotten much smarter over the years." She started with her signature backhanded compliments, just a mess with her little brother. As Kevin shot her a wounded look, Reina grinned and laid out her plan. "It's not like you're actually giving me up. The point is to squeeze him for more money." More money. You get it. It was a revelation. "So, I'm a clown here?" At first, Kevin had been genuinely worried his sister had lost her mind. Why else would she be talking such nonsense? Turns out, he was just too young, too naive to the wicked ways of the world. A spark ignited in Kevin's eyes. "So what's the plan?" he asked, his heart pounding, his hands trembling. He really wanted that meteorite. As for whether Leo Flynn would come after him for payback later, Kevin couldn't care less. After Reina scammed the guy, Leo's paranoid ass would definitely hold a grudge against him once he learned their identities. He wouldn't say anything to his face, but he'd find a way to screw him over behind the scenes. Kevin's actions now were purely self-defense. A preemptive strike. Absolutely not for his own selfish gain. "Damn, this feels good. It's easy." "A walk in the park," Reina said with a snap of her fingers, her eyes sparkling like she was looking at a pile of gold. "Find a discreet apartment complex somewhere downtown that someone like me would rent. We make it look real. Then, you discover my location. I stage a frantic escape, frying all the electronics in the room in the process, and disappear just in the nick of time. It's a classic misdirection, little bro. Take notes." She paused for dramatic effect. "And here's the best part. Leo goes to the address you gave him, ready to cause trouble. He gets there and find me gone, but with clear signs I just left. Your job is done. He asked you to find me, and you found me. The fact that he couldn't catch me is his problem, not yours. As for the reward, you take whatever he promised you. Don't go soft on him. The only thing that's real is what's in your hands. Everything else is just smoke." Kevin's face was a mask of intense concentration, and he nodded repeatedly. "Noted. Lesson learned." He respectfully poured his sister a can of soda. Reina watched him, pleased. A kid who knew how to play the game wouldn't have bad luck. This was going to be a sure thing. After she finished her soda, Kevin asked the question that had been bugging him. "Sis, you didn't come all the way home just to tell me this, did you? Is there something else? You might as well spit it out. You saw through me." "Not bad. Not bad at all." Reina gave him a thumbs up. Kevin was speechless. "I'm not an idiot. Close enough in my eyes." Damn it. She's got a point, Kevin thought. I can't even argue. This sucks. He conceded defeat. "Okay, you win. Just stop showing off." Suddenly, Reina's face flushed red, the usual brazen confidence vanishing. Well, I just say it, sis. Stop beating around the bush. You're not a normal, you're a firework, a force of nature." Reina's eyebrow shot up, locking onto the key phrase. "Did you just say I'm not a normal woman?" Kevin panicked, his mind racing as he saw a hand the size of a catcher's mitt flying toward his face. "Right. Of course you're not a normal woman," he yelped. "Your IQ is light years ahead of them. They can't even compare. In a world that runs on brain power, they don't stand a chance against you." The rapid-fire flattery worked. Reina was pleased. Beauty? Family status? Love? That's all a waste of money. I mean, a waste of emotion. Asher Vance would have a use for her, and she was no damsel in distress. With that thought, Reina felt her chances were looking up again. Phew, that was a close call. Dodged a bullet there, Kevin thought, relaxing as he saw no lingering danger in her expression. He navigated that minefield successfully. Just as he predicted, Reina took a deep breath as if to steel her nerves. "Little brat," she said, her cheeks burning, "you might have a brother-in-law soon." She'd finally said it, and a weight lifted from her chest. To Kevin, it was like a bolt of lightning from a clear sky. Who's the unlucky bastard? Ahem. And just as quickly, the clouds parted. "Finally, I've been waiting for this. Thank God I didn't give up." "What do you mean, mate? It's a done deal." Kevin was more excited than Reina was. Now, it was her turn to be baffled. "It's not like you're the one getting a husband. What are you so worked up about? You're getting ahead of yourself. There's a huge gap between our families. Don't worry. I'll handle Dad. So what if you're keeping a toy boy? So what if you're marrying a broke but handsome guy with no car, no cash, and no house? As long as you two are in love, even the heavens will be moved by your story. Kevin wasn't sure if the heavens were moved, but he'd certainly moved himself. He couldn't let this potential brother-in-law get away. He was still young. He didn't want to get married so soon. He hadn't even finished his battle suit yet. Why rush into that tomb? It's not what you think, Raina said, her lips twitching. Our family isn't good enough for him. He's way richer than us. Then I'll help you kidnap him, Kevin said, gritting his teeth. He was all in. Damn, little Kev's got guts. Never noticed that before. Raina was genuinely shocked. Asher was the first man who had ever made her heart pound, the only one who had made her throw all logic and reason out the window. But with so many other women in the picture, she'd have to fight for him. She wasn't greedy. She'd be happy with just a piece of the pie. Raina blinked, looking hesitant and conflicted. Sis, who is it? Just tell me already. Spit it out. Kevin was getting frantic. His crazy sister was finally showing interest in someone, and he couldn't just stand by and watch it fall apart. Raina didn't answer, just let out a long, dramatic sigh. Kevin was losing his mind. So what if his family is powerful? We're not exactly nobodies. As long as you love each other, nothing else matters. Just tell me who it is. She glanced at him, her tone melancholic. What's the point in saying it? It's just a one-sided crush. I'm only torturing myself. Kevin's eye twitched. Then why did you bring it up in the first place? To mess with me? He knew she was setting a trap for him. This was just her way of telling him that his future brother-in-law was a serious heavy hitter. So what? Kevin had plenty of experimental drugs in his lab. He could set a little trap for the guy, force the issue. Once the deed was done, he could hold it over him. Either marry my sister, or I'll have you castrated. Kevin had 100 ways to deal with some pampered rich boy. Who cared if he had money? He could socially execute the guy on the spot. Kevin put on a serious face. Sis, what are you worried about? Do you really like my brother-in-law? Brother-in-law? Isn't a little early for that. Raina said, twisting a lock of hair like a smitten schoolgirl. Yep, she's a lost cause. Kevin forced a smile. Not at all. He's lucky my sister even noticed him. Incredibly lucky. Raina grinned, pleased with his answer. So, you're really willing to help me kidnap him? Kevin sensed a trap and decided to play it safe. First, tell me who my brother-in-law is. Huh, what happened to all that bravado from a minute ago? Well, I mean, just tell me. That's my thigh. That's my little brother. Don't worry, I'll make it up to you. I'll even help you find a girlfriend later. Your brother-in-law may be rich, but he's a kind person. You'll like him when you meet him. Raina laid on another thick layer of flattery. Kevin was losing his patience. All right, just tell me who it is. I'll help you, I promise. A woman in love truly has an IQ of 0. His sisters had just plunged into negative numbers. He was dying of curiosity. What kind of man could possibly conquer his impossibly arrogant sister? Raina's lips curled into a triumphant, scheming smile. She gave him a thumbs up and said cheerfully, Asher Vance of the New York Vances. Is that all? I thought it was someone important. So it's just Asher Vance, Kevin scoffed, a dismissive smirk on his face. Then, the realization hit him, and the smirk froze, his facial muscles spasming. What the foo? His world came crashing down. Raina had no idea why her brother was reacting so dramatically, but it didn't matter. She couldn't give him a chance to back out. You just promised to help me kidnap him. Thinking of backing out? I got on tape, asshole. Kevin was thunderstruck. Holy hell. Other people's sisters are supportive. Mine is a saboteur. Sis, are you trying to get me killed? Tears welled up in his eyes. He was dealing with a lost cause. His sister was a lost cause. One moment of matchmaking bliss, a lifetime in the crematorium. He had no problem with Asher being his brother-in-law, but did she have to provoke Anya Kuznetsov? Sis, you can't do this to me. A recording won't help you. Kevin wailed. Oh, stop being so dramatic. It's a small thing. And are you crying? Stop it. A man stands between heaven and earth. How can he go back on his word? Raina said, spewing her twisted logic. It only made things worse. Kevin started crying harder, gesturing with his injured hand. Sis, do you know how I got this? Raina's expression turned grim. Don't tell me Asher did that to you. What could have possibly happened? No matter what, you don't beat up your future brother-in-law. Still, she found herself siding with Asher. Kevin could be a real pain in the ass sometimes. A good beating might do him some good. It wasn't because she was obsessed with Asher's body, of course. She was just being objective. Kevin shook his head pitifully. Not him. Someone way scarier. Raina was confused. What? It wasn't your brother-in-law? Then who was it? I'll teach them a lesson. Well, I'll have your brother-in-law teach them a lesson. Kevin was speechless. Sis, not too long ago, I was hired to make life difficult for my brother-in-law. Lucky for me, I failed. Otherwise, my ass would have been toast. Besides, did she really think Anya Kuznetsov would listen to Asher? What kind of joke was that? No, let's just drop it. That woman is not someone you can afford to mess with. Don't play with fire. We need to lie low. The only way to survive is to stay out of her way. It's a woman? Raina asked, surprised. Kevin nodded and told her everything he knew about Anya Kuznetsov, a top-tier double agent, a time bomb planted right next to Asher. As far as he knew, Anya was the only one, but she was more than enough. She could take Asher's head off any time she wanted. Holy hell, Raina thought. That beautiful, bug-eating woman was the world's #1 assassin? It blew her mind. The contrast was insane. She was completely blindsided. The master was right beside her all along. It turned out that the assassin Leo Flynn had sent was now working for Asher. Leo was probably crying in a corner somewhere. A triple agent. It took Raina a long moment to recover. Damn it. No wonder they're all main female characters. I should have known none of them were simple. Know yourself, know your enemy, and you will win 100 battles. Raina decided it was absolutely necessary to gather intel on every single one of the women around Asher. She'd already exposed her own identity. She couldn't let them keep playing dumb. So, do you understand my predicament now? Kevin asked mournfully. I get it, Raina said with a wave of her hand. Little brother was useless. She'd have to find another way. She channeled her frustration into her plan to scam Leo Flynn. Forget about your brother-in-law for now. Get someone on setting up the decoy, just like we discussed. Kevin gave her an okay sign. The next morning, in a 5-star hotel, Leo Flynn woke up and didn't even glance at the woman beside him. He couldn't remember if she was the second or third he'd been with this week. His eyes were glued to his phone screen. Ha! Finally found you, you little rat, he muttered. No one who takes my money and thinks they can get away with it has ever been born. The rustling of clothes woke the woman. She opened her eyes, her voice a tired, syrupy purr. Honey, where are you going? You promised to buy me that Hermes bag last night. You can't go back on your word. Leo plastered a smile on his face and delivered a classic player's line. Of course, the biggest one they have. Baby, I have something to take care of. You wait here. I'll be back before you know it. Back my ass, he thought. If you weren't halfway decent looking, I wouldn't have wasted my time. He thought he'd found a perfect 10, but she turned out to be a durian, all of the stench with none of the flavor. If it weren't for the requirements of his martial arts discipline, he wouldn't touch someone like her with a 10-foot pole. It was all the discipline's fault. The woman's eyes lit up. Okay, thank you, honey. Give me a kiss. She closed her eyes and puckered her lips. Leo felt increasingly nauseated. Come on, don't be like that. I have to go, but I'll be right back. Okay, love you. Love you too. As soon as he was dressed and out the door, the smile vanished from his face. Love my ass. He had no intention of making good on his empty promises. She wasn't worth the price. Besides, New York was a huge city. The chances of running into her again were practically zero. And even if he did, would she have the nerve to chase him down for it? Pathetic. Leo found a place nearby to grab breakfast. He knew Red Rose's type. She was a homebody. Even if she happened to be out, he could just wait for her. And if she'd run, she couldn't have taken all of her tech with her. The apartment was her weak spot. He was confident, unhurried. After breakfast, he hailed a cab and headed to the address Kevin had sent him. He trusted Kevin's skills. The Orchard Towers, Building 15, Apartment 301. This is it. Standing in front of the door, Leo pulled a small piece of wire from his pocket. As the protagonist, it paid to be multi-talented. He ignored the security camera in the hallway. What was the point? The woman had scammed him out of millions. She was looking at serious jail time. He was already being generous by and not involving the law. Did she expect him to kneel and beg her to give the money back? Not a chance. Meanwhile, everything Leo was doing was being broadcast via the building's security feedback to the Gao residents. Well. Look at him, a regular lock-picking champion, Raina snickered. Kevin was exasperated. He'd already told his sister about Leo's skills. But right now, he was even more excited than she was. Because, is everything ready? Raina asked. Ready and waiting. On the screen, the moment Leo slid the wire into the lock. Zap! Leo instantly broke into a series of spastic jerks that looked remarkably like breakdancing. Ha. I'm dying. Raina couldn't stop laughing. Kevin was cracking up too. Back at the apartment, Leo's face was dark. Son of a bitch. She dared to mess with me. Crash! He kicked the door clean off its hinges with a perfect spinning kick. His eyes narrowed, scanning the area behind the door. Just as he thought, a makeshift electrical device. That's what had zapped him. It's why he'd resorted to brute force. But beyond that, he had a sinking feeling. Don't tell me she actually got away. A strange smell wafted from the apartment. Piles of garbage were everywhere. It was a pigsty. Holding his nose, Leo stepped inside. The interior was a world away from the clean hallway. It was hard to believe anyone lived here. Why had he come alone? Because he could. Red Rose was a genius with a computer, but in every other respect, she was just waiting to be crushed. He scanned the room. All the computer equipment was smashed. From the looks of it, she hadn't been gone long. She probably fled while he was eating breakfast. Son of a bitch. Leo cursed, his anger flaring. Kevin had screwed up, letting her know he was coming. He was going to give that kid a piece of his mind. Leo stormed back out into the hallway. The smell inside was unbearable and dialed his phone. The second it connected, he let loose. Mole, what the hell are you doing? How'd you find out so fast? Aren't you the so-called prince of hackers? What the hell is wrong with you? Raina struggled to stifle her laughter. Kevin held up a finger, signaling for silence. She nodded, cooperating. Money was on the line. What am I doing? I did exactly what you told me to do. Kevin's voice came through the phone. Leo's face grew darker. This is what I told you to do. She's gone, and that's my problem? By your logic, if I buy a knife to chop vegetables, you're going to accuse me of murder. Kevin retorted, then launched into a series of twisted arguments that left Leo speechless. Thinking back, if he hadn't stopped for breakfast, if he hadn't been delayed, if he'd come straight here, would he have caught her? Ha ha! Raina's face had turned purple from holding it in. She finally burst out laughing, snorting like a pig. It was just too funny. It wasn't that she didn't want the extra money, but she just couldn't hold it in any longer. Damn it. Kevin froze. Leo went silent. Raina, still not done, let out another chuckle before her laughter died abruptly. She realized she'd done something stupid again. Kevin shot her a look full of despair, mouthing words she could easily read. Sis, what are you doing? Raina, on the verge of tears, mouthed back. I'm an idiot. You believe me? Kevin, I can see that. You want a medal? Raina, feeling brave today, are we? A sudden disaster. It's not the god-tier opponent you have to fear, it's the pig-headed teammate. Kevin's heart went cold. Why do I have such a walking disaster for a sister? It all happened in an instant. Thinking fast, Kevin seized the initiative. Get out. How many times have I told you not to come into my room, Grandma? I used to wet the bed, but that was years ago. You don't have to keep bringing it up. Grandma? Raina pointed a trembling finger at herself, bewildered. Kevin shot his useless sister a death glare. On the other end of the line, Leo was silent for a moment before replying. Oh, so that's what it was. The voice coming through the phone was already slightly distorted. Leo just thought it sounded familiar. He would never have connected it to Red Rose. If he had known her real name was Raina Gao, his suspicion would have been piqued. But he didn't know. The person scamming him was his own subordinate sister. You couldn't make this stuff up. Kevin and Raina stared at each other, their faces a perfect picture of bafflement. No way. Did he actually buy that? Kevin felt a sense of disbelief, but if Leo bought it, it saved him a lot of trouble. No need to explain. An explanation was just a cover-up, and a cover-up was an admission of guilt. Let's talk about my payment, Kevin said, getting straight to the point, his voice a mix of earnestness, trepidation, and nerves. Leo frowned, annoyed. I haven't even caught her yet. What are you thinking? Finding her was my job. Catching her is on you. Not me, Kevin said, washing his hands of all responsibility. That's not how this works. Leo was already furious. He hated it when people tried to bargain with him. Kevin's expression hardened. Fine, then I'm done with the Red Rose case. I don't want the reward. Beep, beep, beep. He hung up. The move left Leo completely stunned. He never expected Kevin to have the balls to hang up on him. All he wanted was to find the woman. Kevin wanted the meteorite. There was no conflict here. Damn it, you little punk. Leo seethed. I haven't even chewed you out for screwing up. You're just a kid, but you've got a hell of an attitude. The Dragon's Den is the only place that'll put up with you. Go out and see who else would give you the time of day. Call Kevin back? Was he insane? He was the head of the Dragon's Den, a man above thousands. Why had he ever been treated with such disrespect? He was already being generous by not going after Kevin. You don't want the reward? Raina asked, blinking. Want it? Hell no. You almost got us both killed. Ahem, wait. They had the same grandma. Kevin shot her a reassuring look. Of course I want it. It's not every day you get a chance to scam the Dragon King. Sis, I have a plan B. Raina's curiosity was piqued. What plan? Just keep watching, Kevin said, pointing at the computer screen. On the monitor, building security guards had blocked Leo's path. Sir, you entered our building without the owner's consent and violently damaged their door. Whatever your reason, you can't leave. You'll have to wait for the police to arrive and give a statement. Your building's owner is a goddamn con artist. She scammed me. Move, Leo said, his face cold. It was so strange. Back in other countries, he could do whatever he wanted. As long as you had the money, lawyers, and even judges were on your side. Here, though, this was a first for him. Usually, he'd be long gone by now. Sir, please cooperate, two towering guards said, stepping forward to block his path completely. A wicked smirk spread across Leo's face. And if I don't? Ever since he'd returned to the States, nothing had gone right. He'd been itching for a punching bag. The guards exchanged a look. There were several of them. They could take one pretty boy. For some reason, seeing a guy better looking than them always set them on edge, especially when he was flashing that punchable smirk. You can try, the taller guard said, looking down on him. Try I will. Leo's eyes narrowed. He loved guys like this, overconfident idiots who thought their size meant they could do whatever they wanted. They overestimated themselves and underestimated their opponent, just like every other spoiled rich kid. A few moments later, agonized screams filled the air. 4 or 5 guards were lying on the ground, groaning in pain. The one who had challenged Leo was in the worst shape. Leo dusted off his clothes, a look of utter contempt on his face. He had no idea where they got their courage. Challenging him? They were asking for it. He'd beaten them in and broken the door. It was time to leave. But just as he was about to make his getaway, a police car, sirens blaring, pulled up outside. Without hesitation, Leo turned to run. You again, a furious woman's voice shouted. Leo froze for a second, but instinct took over, and he started to run again. This isn't overseas. There are cameras everywhere, Flynn. Your information is already in the system. There's nowhere to run unless you get the hell back to where you came from. Kate Young yelled, thoroughly exasperated. Only then did Leo stop. He turned around, a smile on his face, and walked toward her. Officer Young, you can't just accuse an innocent man. I was here looking for someone. Why do you look at me like I'm a criminal? That's prejudice. Kate was momentarily taken aback. They'd just received a call about a break-in, with the caller saying someone had kicked down a door and terrified the neighbors. Regardless, she still had to say it. You and innocent don't belong in the same sentence. Leo subconsciously touched his nose. Sure they do. Kate turned away, refusing to engage with the smooth-talking liar. Kate, we'll go check on the situation, Captain Miller said. A couple of the other officers felt a pang of insecurity seeing how handsome Leo was, worried that their department princess was about to be swept off her feet. But then, Evans, Winters, you two stay here and watch him, Kate ordered. Don't let him run. He might be connected to this. With a flick of her hair, she strode off, her long legs moving with purpose. The two named officers looked at each other, unsure whether to laugh or cry. This guy didn't look like the type to break into someone's apartment. But they were rookies. They didn't know about Leo's rap sheet. Leo's face was a thundercloud. After Kate left, he turned to the two male officers. Excuse me, gentlemen. I have urgent business to attend to. The two officers, who had been chatting, looked over. Hey man, just cooperate. This'll be over quick. Yeah. We're sure you didn't do anything like this, right? Huh. Right, Leo replied, his lip twitching. Do you guys think you're hilarious? When the investigation concluded, Officers Evans and Winters were dying of embarrassment. If they could turn back time, they never would have shot the breeze with Leo Flynn, and they certainly wouldn't have called him man. Appearances could be deceiving. They were fresh out of the academy and already running into cases like this. It was hard to imagine that a well-dressed, handsome man could be capable of such thuggish behavior. Was this what people meant by a wolf in sheep's clothing? Their admiration for Kate Young skyrocketed. She wasn't just a pretty face. She was an experienced veteran. At the precinct, Leo had lost count of how many times he'd been here. He was so familiar with the place, he could have given tours. Name, Leo Flynn. The desk sergeant paused, then looked up. Oh, it's you again. He couldn't help but be impressed. The guy practically lived here. But even for a regular, procedure was procedure. Mr. Flynn, you're under suspicion of breaking and entering malicious destruction of property. Wait. What did I destroy? You kicked down a door. Oh, that's it. What do you mean, that's it? This is a serious offense, the officer fumed. Leo tuned him out, letting the litany of his crimes wash over him. He didn't think any of it was a big deal. Soon enough, his lawyer arrived. Leo had already planned his exit strategy when he threw the first punch, self-defense. He'd argue that he felt his life was in grave danger. It was a classic loophole. He'd pay for bail just like back home. As for the guards he'd beaten up, what was a little medical compensation? A few $1,000? Leo gritted his teeth. He could afford it. Of course, he wasn't clenching his jaw because of the money, but because he didn't want to pay it. It was their own damn fault for being weak and picking a fight. Leo sat back, confident. If all went according to plan, he'd be out on bail in no time. But he'd forgotten he wasn't overseas anymore, and someone was pulling strings against him. His plan to pay off the security guards and have them drop the charges failed. Someone was backing them, had even gotten them a lawyer, and told them to press the case to the very end. No matter what, if they sued Leo, they get paid. Not only that, but the mastermind behind it all sent a message via the lawyer. The lawyer cleared his throat and read from a letter. Well, surprise, surprise. You almost caught me. But the money? You gave it to me willingly. Did I ever ask you for it? Still, spending your money while screwing you over. It's been an absolute pleasure. Enjoy your stay for a few days. The lawyer coughed again, seeing the fury building in Leo's eyes. Where's your boss? Tell her to come see me. The lawyer gave him a strange look. Was this guy an idiot? Leo gritted his teeth, incandescent with rage. He was certain Red Rose hadn't gone far. She had probably waltzed right back into the building the moment he was arrested. Or maybe she was watching from afar. Either way, this was the second time Red Rose had screwed him over. It was infuriating. What should have been an afternoon inconvenience dragged on into the night. He was denied bail. Leo was spending another night in his usual spot. What the? You again? Do you have some kind of weird fetish for our jail cells? A young corrections officer asked upon seeing the familiar face. Leo's expression was so dark, he didn't even bother to respond. He walked straight toward his old cell. Hey, that one's taken. You're in a different spot tonight, the C. Oh, called out, pointing to the cell next door. Leo followed his finger. The words filthy and disgusting were compliments. The place wasn't fit for a human being. Son of a bitch. Leo finally exploded. I want to change cells. The C. Oh, cleaned out his ear. You said the same thing last time. Get in. As he got closer, a foul stench hit him. When had he ever been subjected to such indignity? Wait, I have. He knew raging was useless. Calming himself, Leo's eyes grew cold. Did these people think he was a pushover? Everyone was testing him. Even a clay statue has its limits, let alone a living, breathing man. Just you wait, you little rat. Don't let me catch you. Meanwhile, the masterminds of his misery were living like royalty in the Gao family mansion. Dragon King? More like he's just gassing himself up. With an IQ like that. Raina said smugly. Kevin, dutifully tearing open a bag of chips for his crazy sister, nodded in agreement. Right, whatever you say, sis. He'd gotten remarkably good with one hand. Not only could he play games, he could also. Never mind, no need to dwell on painful memories. Leo was a force to be reckoned with overseas, but hacking was his blind spot. Raina was just exploiting his weakness. Kevin didn't think it was anything to be proud of, but he certainly wasn't going to say that out loud. All right, that's enough. Go get some rest, Raina said, waving him away like a fly. Okay, Kevin replied, feeling like he'd been granted amnesty. He scurried away before she could change her mind. TCH, kids, Raina muttered. I wonder how my big sister is doing over there. She took a long swig of soda. All this success was making her think about other things. What woman could resist Asher Vance's looks? Using him to test a woman's willpower? It's mine now. Raina picked up her phone, deciding it was time to test the waters. The big sister she was referring to was, of course, Jessica Young. Ever since she'd chosen her side, Raina had given up on the idea of keeping Asher all to herself. Jessica could have the main course. She'd be happy with an appetizer. The more exceptional a woman was, the less likely she was to fall for a man easily. The fact that so many capable women were drawn to Asher meant he had a unique charm. Raina figured even a small piece of that was worth having. A moment later, the call connected. Raina? What's up? Big sis, I just got Leo Flynn thrown in jail again. I'll keep him tied up for the next few days. But how are things going with Serafina Hayes? We can't do all this work just to let Scarlet Joe swoop in and take the prize. We'd look like total fools. Jessica's brow arched. Let Scarlet win? In her dreams. She had been here first. As for Leo, Raina had done well. I heard Scarlet intercepted her plans. What? What do we do? Raina panicked. This Scarlet Joe was a real handful. Don't worry. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, Jessica said soothingly, though her mind was already calculating her next move. Not worry. Are you serious, big sis? I'm counting on you to leave me some scraps. Raina's face was a mask of despair. Well, you have to keep a close eye on things. Anyone but Scarlet. The double meaning was clear, preferably me. I know. Jessica replied curtly. She and Scarlet did not get along. She would never let her rival get the first taste. The two women chatted a bit longer before hanging up. Jessica tapped her chin, lost in thought. How can I trick Ash into coming over to my place? That was the question that had been occupying her mind. Once she had him here, she didn't care if she had to drug him or force him. The only thing that mattered was what she held in her own hands. Everything else was just an illusion. Meanwhile, the same scene was playing out in different locations, at the Thorne estate, the Hayes mansion, and the homes of the other women vying for Asher's attention. At the Vance Tower Hotel, in a presidential suite, Lena had just stepped out of the shower. Her hair was damp, and her flawless face was flushed. After days of filming with Asher, she'd felt her heart flutter more than once. The butterflies were intense. Even now, she was so deep in her role that she couldn't tell if her feelings for Asher were part of the script or genuinely her own. Her mind was a mess. Her slender fingers tapped against her phone screen, replying to a message from Cassie Lee. Cassie, free for dinner tomorrow night? Lena, aren't you busy? I'm swamped over here, just got a break. Cassie, nope, not busy at all, big shot movie star Lena. Cassie, come on, don't be like that. You promised you'd treat me to dinner last time. Do you have the memory of a goldfish? Lena paused. That was true. Her face grew even redder. So embarrassing. Lena, okay, you win. The day after tomorrow. My treat. I really can't tomorrow. Cassie, carrot, okay. You're a busy woman. I get it. I'm just grateful you can make time for me at all. Hey. I'm not worried about you coming out. Just that you won't, Cassie thought, licking her lips. Under normal circumstances, the chances of Lena willingly falling into her trap were close to zero. So Cassie was planning to play dirty. A little something extra in her drink to knock her out. She'd wake up next to her, none the wiser. They were both girls, after all. Lena would never suspect that she played for the other team. On the other side of the city, everyone had their own troubles, and Asher Vance was no exception. Mom, what's the big deal about this dinner? It'll be the same whether I'm there or not. No, you have to be there tomorrow. I've already told Scarlett's parents. I'm not going. I have a million things to do, Asher said dismissively. The phone was snatched from his mother's hand. Lawrence Vance's angry voice boomed through the speaker. You little brat. If you don't show up tomorrow, your allowance is gone. You'll get $10 million a month, and that's it. You hear me? Asher sucked in a sharp breath. Holy hell, $10 million a month? How is he supposed to live? Private jets, yachts. Damn it. To think that he, the great Asher Vance, would be reduced to a mere $10 million monthly allowance. He'd be the laughingstock of every trust fund kid in the city. But he wasn't about to beg for money. Dad, it's not about the money. Then what is it about? You know, I heard you're not chasing that Serafina Hayes anymore. Is that right? You guys know everything, don't you? Cut the crap, kid. Your mother told me we lost a lot of money on that oil deal. It's possible that because of this one bad investment, the Vance family will be knocked off its pedestal as the king of New York. And you know what? Your mom, and I think that's great. Losing money is a small price to pay to lock down a future daughter-in-law. His father had spoken. The kids would have their own fortunes. He and Eleanor had done enough. They'd seen it all. Money comes and goes. But Scarlett's character was a perfect fit for their family. The Vance family is going to fall. We're going to be demoted to just one of the 4 great families. This is fantastic news. Why didn't you two tell me sooner? Asher took a deep breath and grinned. I think it's great too. Good. Then it's settled. You'll be there tomorrow, or else. That's not what I meant. Oof, wait, stop, Dragon Queen, hold on. Lawrence's eyelid twitched. No wonder the kid didn't want to get married. The moment he was free of Serafina, he was back to his old ways. Lawrence had thought getting his heart broken would straighten him out, but he was wrong. Dead wrong. The kid was even worse than before. He was fooling around while on the phone with his father. Lawrence's face was grim. You little brat, clean up your mess and wipe your mouth. And if you're not here tomorrow, you are dead. Click. The line went dead. On his end, Asher was on the verge of tears. He wanted to explain, but how could he? He could only wait for it to be over. Afterward, Asher looked at the Dragon Queen, who was now sitting on the damn punctual. Would it kill her to be a little late? Now he was in deep trouble. He'd never be able to explain this away. Are you happy now? Anya glanced from Asher to the clock on the wall, her expression blank. But I didn't want to wait. What? You didn't want to wait? Fine. If that's how she was going to be, there was no arguing. Asher quickly accepted his fate. This was the second time the Dragon Queen had publicly humiliated him. It was one thing with strangers, but with his own family? It was social suicide. There was no point in reasoning with her. A sincere offering was the only thing that worked. Asher made a decision. Procrastination had to die. From now on, he would get all his important business out of the way first thing. A tired mouth was better than another unexpected, catastrophic interruption. The next day at noon, at the city jail, the Dragon King made his triumphant return. That's right, Leo Flynn was out, bailed out after paying a hefty sum. Same time, same place, same people. Different crime. All right, you try to be a good person this time, and don't MMPH. A fellow C. Oh, clamped a hand over the talkative guard's mouth. This was the same guy who had jinxed him last time. They really, truly did not want to see Leo Flynn again. The guy walked around looking like everyone owed him money. He was bad luck. Shut up. Don't say another word. Every time this guy shows up, my lottery tickets are duds. You think that's bad? I went on a 30-game losing streak in ranked. My wife's account dropped all the way to bronze. Ahem, Sergeant, can I say something? No, don't say it. Nothing good ever comes out of your mouth. Okay, I'm going to say it anyway. That 30-game losing streak might have a little to do with luck, but mostly it's because you suck. Get the hell out of here. The officer's comment sent the others into roaring laughter. Leo's face turned green. He quickened his pace, desperate to get away. It wasn't just them. Seeing these guards was bad luck for him, too. He didn't go for food first. Instead, he bought a new set of clothes and checked into a nearby hotel to shower, wanting to wash off the stench and the bad juju. This was all thanks to that woman, Red Rose. He would have his revenge. After his shower, Leo found a restaurant. The food in the holding cells was clean and hygienic, but for a man accustomed to fine dining, it was inedible. After a satisfying meal, Leo picked up his phone and called Manny Marcos, telling him to find another master hacker. Kevin Gao's betrayal had cut him deep, so what if he was talented? Leo wouldn't use him. In fact, if he was still pissed off later, he'd crush him. He'd be damned if he believed there were no other talented people in the entire country. With that thought, he didn't even consider calling Kevin. TSK. Not bad. My ancient martial arts discipline is almost at its peak, Leo thought, circulating his internal energy and feeling the change. His power had grown stronger. The jail cell may have stunk, but it was a decent place for secluded training. Damn it, again, he muttered, clicking his tongue. This physical reaction wasn't his fault. It was a side effect of his training. It wasn't a lack of self-control. First, I'll take care of this physical problem. Night fell, and the streets of New York lit up. In a high-end restaurant, things had changed, yet they remained the same. The moment Asher arrived, he saw Scarlett's parents sitting with his own. Chloe was there too. The last time they'd pushed marriage this hard was. The last time. Chloe hadn't been there then, nor had his dragon-tailed shadow, Anya Kuznetsov. Back then, Asher's official identity was still Serafina Hayes' simp. Now that he'd shed that skin, facing Scarlett felt different. You're here, Lawrence Vance said, his smile dying on his lips as he shot Asher a dirty look. Scarlett is a perfect daughter-in-law, and you still have the nerve to cheat on her? Can't you learn from your old man? One woman is enough for a lifetime. Asher nodded, feeling a little awkward, but only a little. His playboy reputation was a useful shield. Let the old man be angry. He'd get over it eventually. At the table, the two she-devils, big and small, who had been chatting happily, looked over at him in unison. Come sit over here, Scarlett said, standing up with a smile and pulling out a chair for him. Eleanor and Lawrence watched, their approval growing. On the other side of the table, Richard and Victoria Jo looked uncomfortable. Their daughter had just cost the Vance family a fortune. They didn't know the exact amount, but it was definitely in the hundreds of billions. They had no idea if tonight was an ambush or something else. But one thing was certain. Lawrence and Eleanor didn't seem to care about the money. That, at least, was a relief. Asher nodded and walked over, his expression unreadable. His parents and the Joes couldn't tell what he was thinking, but the three women at the table could hear it loud and clear. He was ecstatic. Ha! Well done, she-devil. My family losing money is all thanks to you. You did a fantastic job. Name your price. I'll do my best to grant any request you have. Grant my request. Really? Now that got Scarlett's attention. She ran her tongue over her brick-red lipstick. Asher, you idiot. They can hear your every thought, and you still don't know. Chloe silently screamed. She wondered what kind of request her future sister-in-law would make. She hoped it wasn't anything too outrageous. Lawrence and Eleanor had no objections to Anya tagging along. Chloe wasn't their biological daughter, but they treated her as their own, better, even. It was partly because of her parents, and partly because a daughter should be raised with every advantage. How else would she avoid being bullied by her in-laws later? You had to raise her standards high, so she'd know which men were worth her time. Anyway, Anya was protecting Asher 24/7, and Chloe had already explained that she was no ordinary bodyguard. So, the elder Van Cess gave her a lot of leeway. What harm could one female bodyguard do? Chloe, however, was worried Anya might do something inappropriate, like sitting too close to Asher right in front of both sets of parents. It would be awkward. They were all supposed to be a happy family. What was Anya trying to stir up? Anya, over here, Chloe called, having already saved a seat for her. Asher and Scarlett exchanged a look, both silently, giving Chloe a thumbs up for her quick thinking. This is what a good sister does. But then, the unexpected happened. All three of them assumed Anya would do as Chloe said. Instead, Anya walked right over and sat down directly next to Asher. Richard and Victoria, Jo looked horrified. Eleanor and Lawrence managed an awkward, polite smile. What is Anya doing? Chloe sighed. It's over. The worst case scenario has happened. But in the blink of an eye, her worry vanished, replaced by a dark, mischievous thought. Oomph. Serves you right, Asher. This is what you get for sneaking out, for not staying home and giving me a chance. You should know that the squeaky will get the grease. This is your problem now. I'm not getting involved. Asher's eye twitched. Anya, are you trying to cause trouble? He tried to reason with her. Anya, there's a seat over there. Could you? A little compromise. That's all he was asking for. But the Dragon Queen had no concept of compromise. She didn't move. Richard and Victoria Jo were mortified. Lawrence cleared his throat. My dear in-laws, let me introduce you. This is Anya Kuznetsov, a highly skilled bodyguard we've hired. A bodyguard? A bodyguard who looked like that? Her figure, her face. She was just as beautiful as their Scarlet. She could have made a living on her looks alone. They couldn't see her skills, but her beauty was enough to outshine most women in New York. To be blunt, they wanted to ask, is this bodyguard legitimate? But they held their tongues. Their daughter had just lost their in-laws a fortune, and the Jo family was nowhere near as powerful as the Vance's. They couldn't ask, say, or even look at anything the wrong way. Eleanor could only offer another weak smile. It's okay, Mom, Dad. If Anya wants to sit here, I don't mind, Scarlett said with a smile and a wink. She genuinely wasn't angry. Money couldn't buy a life. With Anya around, Asher was safe. You can't expect a horse to run without feeding it, right? Since Scarlett, the person most affected, wasn't bothered, the elders certainly weren't going to say anything. And so, the Dragon Queen sat between Asher and Scarlett, creating the strange impression of a family of three. Chloe rubbed her eyes. Hey, how did I get left out? Soon, the food arrived, a lavish spread covering the large table. Mom, Dad, Scarlett began, looking at Eleanor and her own parents. I wanted to bring everyone together today, because there's something I needed to tell you. Chloe's hand trembled, and a piece of fried pork rib fell from her chopsticks. Oh no, it's happening. Scarlett, you're really doing it? I thought we agreed to keep playing dumb. Please, just wait a little longer. I haven't even gotten a real taste of my brother yet. Chloe, what's gotten into you today? You're so clumsy, Eleanor chided gently, picking up the piece of pork and placing it in her daughter's bowl. She then turned back to Scarlett with a smile. If this is about the investment, you really don't have to say anything. We already know. In life, things rarely go as planned, especially in the stock market. Your father-in-law and I aren't holding it against you. Eleanor said it lightly, but it was over $300 billion of liquid capital. The consequences were enormous. For a large corporation, a hit to liquid assets of that magnitude could cause a cascading failure across the entire system. Lawrence nodded in agreement. The more gracious they were, the more moved Scarlett felt. How could you not lock down in-laws this wonderful? And with the wedding date approaching, Scarlett didn't want to wait anymore. They were treating her like family. But before Scarlett could speak, Asher chimed in. Yeah, it's just money. You don't need to put so much pressure on yourself. Just think of it as an expensive lesson. Eleanor and Lawrence's eyes widened. The boys finally come to his senses. Lawrence was particularly thrilled. He didn't care if Asher fooled around, as long as he didn't cause trouble at home. He never expected his son to stand up for Scarlett. He was floored, but mostly he was proud. The kid's finally grown up. Of course, only the three women at the table knew Asher's true thoughts, which were the complete opposite of his words. If his parents could hear his inner monologue, they would want to kill him. He wasn't just a disappointment. He was actively trying to ruin them. Scarlett and Chloe were used to it. Anya, on the other hand, had no interest in money. To her, it was just something to spend. If she ran out, she'd just take on a few more missions. And the rewards for the world's #1 assassin were never small. Richard and Victoria Jo sucked in a sharp breath. Their future in-laws were gracious, and their future son-in-law was even more so. They remembered friends at a recent party warning them not to aim too high. A marriage with such a large gap in family status was bound to have problems, domestic abuse, condescending in-laws. At first, they had thought it was sound advice. When you marry up, even if your spouse is kind, their family will see you as a gold digger and treat you with suspicion. But now they saw the truth. It wasn't good advice. It was jealousy. Those friends were just a bunch of bitter lemon suckers who would have sold their own daughters to the Vance family if they'd had the chance. Honey, Asher is right. Don't put so much pressure on yourself, Victoria said comfortingly. Your father and I are here for you. Scarlett didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Did they all really think she'd lost the money? At this point, there was no reason to hide it any longer. Everyone at the table was family. It was time to lay her cards on the table. Mom, Dad, everyone, please stop eating for a moment and keep calm, she announced. I've made a small fortune these past few days. I don't want you to get too excited when you hear this. The parents looked at each other, confused. What did she mean, don't get too excited? They'd seen it all. Was she worried they'd choke on her food? How dramatic could it be? Still, they put down their utensils. They knew Scarlett wasn't one for games. Chloe's face turned pale, her chest heaving with anxiety. Her heart was pounding, about to beat out of her chest. It's over, it's over. Heaven is determined to destroy me. Asher, wait for me. I'll find a way to get you out of this. I promise. Asher had a bad feeling. The room fell silent, the only sound being Anya chewing her food. Scarlett took a breath, then smiled, her voice light and casual. Mom, Dad, I actually took all that money and bought bonds. Crude oil bonds. I bought some futures, yes, but that was mostly just for show. The vast majority went into bonds, at the absolute lowest price. The atmosphere in the room turned strangely still, except for the blissfully unaware Dragon Queen, who was still eating. The only sound was the frantic pounding of hearts. Crash! Before the parents could even react, Asher's chopsticks and bowl clattered to the floor, shattering on impact. Holy crap! Holy crap! Holy hell! I am a holy hell! She-devil, how did you know the bonds would make money? Are you hacking the plot? Son of a him! Can't say that, can't say that. Ha! I just realized, I'm the biggest joke in this entire story. I'm the clown. I'm the clown. Asher had broken, in every sense of the word. From start to finish, Scarlett had him pinned to the mat. He'd been blindsided, defenseless. He wanted a do-over, a chance to go back and stop this horrible thing from ever happening. But it was too late. Bang! Lawrence slammed his hand on the table, his voice trembling. You little brat. Was that bowl too heavy for you? Asher could see it. His old man was panicking even more than he was. That trembling voice, those shaking hands. It was insane. With the way oil prices had crashed, they were looking at trillions. It wasn't just Lawrence. Eleanor couldn't handle it either. The veteran queen of commerce went from shock to a self-deprecating smile. In that moment, she realized she was old. The future belonged to the young. All she and her husband needed to do was stay home and play with their grandchildren. A double kill. Chloe was heartbroken, her spirit crushed. It was truly over. There was no coming back from this. The she-devil had won. The only one in the room who hadn't broken was the Dragon Queen. Richard and Victoria, Joe's lips were trembling. Their daughter's divine move was a checkmate. They didn't know how much the Van Cess had given Scarlett, but the Joes had put in over $100 billion in liquid capital, all in oil bonds. Her position as the Joe family heir was now set in stone. Gulp. Richard Joe swallowed hard, his voice filled with disbelief. Honey, you're not joking, are you? This was like winning the lottery. Yesterday, he was a normal man. Today, he was a billionaire. He was sure even his friends couldn't have predicted this. Happiness had come like a tornado. Scarlett smiled, a picture of elegance and grace. Dad, do you really think I'm that kind of person? Victoria shot her husband a sharp look and poked him in the forehead. You old fool. You don't even believe your own daughter. I wasn't, honey. Don't accuse me. Richard immediately denied. Victoria continued to berate him for a moment before stopping. Normally, she would have saved his pride in front of others, but the sheer amount of money involved had made her lose her composure. The more successful their daughter, the more respect they received. It was an undeniable fact. Eleanor and Lawrence exchanged a look. They knew what the other was thinking. This wasn't just a surprise. It was a miracle. They hadn't lost money. They had made an astronomical profit. This would launch the Vance family into the stratosphere. Honey, I was just looking at the calendar. There are some good days coming up. Why don't we have the wedding in the next few days? Eleanor suggested with a smile. Lawrence caught her meaning and nodded enthusiastically. We'll have a fortune teller check the lunar calendar and move the date up. If there are no auspicious days, a normal one will do. We can make up for it with a grander celebration for our grandchild's 1-month birthday. My thoughts exactly, Eleanor agreed. The two of them went back and forth, pulling a stunned Asher back to reality. Holy hell, not only was his wedding to the she-devil being moved up, but they were already planning for their future children. What was he supposed to do? Setting aside the plot for a moment. Asher was a responsible man. If he had a child in this world, he would have a tether. Even if he knew it was all fake, he couldn't guarantee he wouldn't wake up one day to find it all gone. But he couldn't just ignore his responsibilities. Isn't it a little early to be talking about this? Asher said, exasperated. I'm not even 30 yet. In other words, let me finish the plot first. Bang! Lawrence slammed the table again, his beard trembling with rage. You'll be 30 soon enough. What about Scarlett? Do you want her to be an old mother? I don't know or care about the attitudes of you young people. Don't give me any crap. We're making the best arrangements for you, and all you have to do is obey. Otherwise, the family fortune goes to your sister. You won't get a single penny. The old man was just bluffing. Everyone knew he wouldn't actually do it. And did money even matter to Asher? Well, it has its uses. To be honest, Asher would have loved to give the entire inheritance to Chloe. In his hands, it would probably be squandered anyway. At least with Chloe, she could spend some of it and enjoy life before the protagonist arrived. Dad, I completely agree with you. Leave most of the assets to Chloe. Just give me a few $100 million to live on. Richard and Victoria Joe were stunned. What is this? We've never seen anything like it. Lawrence's face turned crimson with rage. You ungrateful brat. How could I, Lawrence Vance, a man of such renown, have raised such a worthless son? Asher was speechless. His old man was so stingy. He wouldn't even give him a few $100 million. Was he really trying to force him to start his own business? That went against his core principles. Eleanor raised an eyebrow and came to Asher's defense. He was her son, after all. Who cared about her husband? She would always side with her son, right or wrong. Of course, a moment later, she was siding with Scarlett too. Her future daughter-in-law's dowry was just too immense. They had to lock her down. Besides, was there any other family in all of New York, or even the entire country, that would dare to compete with the Vances? Seeing the warm and enthusiastic looks on Lawrence and Eleanor's faces, Chloe's eyes went dull. She gave up. They were already treating Scarlett as their bona fide daughter-in-law. Her plans to slowly win over her parents were impossible now. This wasn't something she could fix by lying low. Their deep-seated ideas couldn't be changed overnight. Since her rebirth, Chloe had been a loss, so she busied herself with other things, like rallying people against Leo Flint. But even if she managed to get rid of him, would Asher agree to spend the rest of his life with her? What would their parents think? The ideal was beautiful, but reality was cruel. What else could she do but give up? Scarlett cleared her throat. Mom, Dad, actually, Asher deserves a lot of the credit for my success. You shouldn't blame him. He's actually very capable. Another bombshell. Chloe was profoundly shocked. Damn, Scarlett, you got guts. I can't believe you just said that. Her heart pounded in her chest, terrified that Asher would realize something was wrong. As Scarlett finished speaking, the room fell silent again. The parents looked at each other, then turned their suspicious gazes on their son, examining him from head to toe, as if for the first time. Both of them sucked in a sharp breath. It seemed their son had gotten even more handsome than before. If you didn't look closely, you wouldn't notice. You get used to seeing the same thing every day. Several pairs of eyes now rested on Asher, making his skin crawl. She-Devil, I agree with the second part of your statement. But the first part, about me helping you, that's pure fabrication. When the hell did I ever help you? Give me the exact time and place, so I can go back and slap some sense into my past self.